Yes, yes. Let's get you all up in here. Let's take this down a little bit. So yeah, man. I was gonna do this one yesterday, but then I said, you know what? I'm gonna wait until today and give you guys the full scope of things, man. It's Saturday morning. Yeah. Saturday morning. Where you at? Oh yeah. We're gonna let some of the people get up in here and we're gonna do our thing. Let's see if YouTube send our notifications out. And yeah, so you have Captain Tazaryach versus the Saint and the Sinner. Yeah, honest opinion only, please. Well, give me your honest opinion. That's what I'm asking for. You know? So you got Christians, you got Muslims, you got Hebrew Israelites, and a lot of things like that, right? Now, my thing is this with the religion. I'm a believer in God, but I don't necessarily subscribe to a religion. You know what I mean? I don't subscribe to a religion. A lot of these things are made up. These Bibles have been manipulated, and people say, oh, this version, you don't know. Let me give you an example. If something happens between two particular groups, let's just say it happened maybe like 2 weeks ago, you're going to get different versions of what happened. And even though this thing took place only 2 weeks ago, so when you got people telling the story about things that happened thousands of years ago, there's going to be there's going to be manipulation. People going to spin the narrative, and the information is not accurate at that point because, like I said, people will flip the script about something that happened 2 weeks ago. So when you're dealing with things that took place thousands of years ago, those stories are going to get manipulated. They're going to get twisted. Somebody's going to rewrite history. So that's what it is with me. What it do? Shout out to Scoop. Shout out to my people in the chat. You know, all of these stories have been manipulated for a specific reason because a lot of people have their own agenda. Now, it's up to you if you choose to subscribe to being a Hebrew Israelite, a Christian, a Muslim, a Jehovah, a Catholic, whatever you choose to subscribe to, that is on you. Me, I tend to deal with logic and common sense. And what makes sense is cool, and what doesn't make sense, I'll just throw it out of the window. So this video came across my desk maybe like 3 days ago, and I said, I would like to cover this. I would like to go live about this situation and break things down from my perspective. But you guys are welcome to chime in if you choose to. Where you at? He said all religions are fake because they're man-made. I feel you. I feel you. A lot of these religions have been manipulated by men. Men manipulate things for their own purpose, for their own agenda. This is a common thing. So it is what it is. Appreciate everybody, man, for tapping in. Make sure that you bless the like button. It ain't nothing. We're gonna dive right into this conversation. As soon as we hit the 5 minute mark, like the 5 minute and 30 minute mark, we're gonna dive into the conversation. And I'm gonna let these brothers speak. And then we'll break things down and speak on things from our perspectives. Yes. True Warrior Scholar said, tell them no. Tell them no. It's crazy. Yeah. Oh man. How many Muslims we got in the building? How many Christians we got in the building? How many Hebrew Israelites we got in the building? How many Catholics we got in the building? And don't be afraid to speak on your religion. Don't be afraid to speak on your particular beliefs. If we got some Muslims in the building, let it be known. If you're a Hebrew Israelite, let it be known. If you're a Christian, whatever it is that you subscribe to, man, please let it be known. Don't be ashamed of your religion or your beliefs. Shout out to my people that's at work. I appreciate you all for tapping in. It's Saturday morning. You guys are still tapped in at work. I appreciate you all. Let's get into this.
Claiming to be religious. I don't even think you guys believe in this nonsense, to be honest with you. But here's my challenge to you. Challenge with a lot of you folks who are claiming to be religious. I don't even think you guys believe in this nonsense, to be honest with you. But here's my challenge to you. Are you fluent in Aramaic?
No, I'm not fluent in Aramaic, Hebrew.
Are you fluent in Greek?
No.
Are you fluent in Hebrew?
No.
Okay. How much can you believe in this religion if you've not even taken out the time to make a study of these languages? Because the King James Version, which is what you guys rely on, is merely a translation of the manuscripts that come from these languages. So it's like, if you believe this thing is life or death and it's of God, you've not even taken out the time to actually try to study to get a better understanding?
Now, I agree with that. Now, how can you claim something but you don't understand the language? But you're depending on translation to gain a better understanding of the message. You know, that right there, that right there hits home. Because if you're studying something, you should understand the language. If you don't have the full understanding of what you subscribe to, then you're foolish. You're clueless. That's like somebody calling themselves Spanish, but they don't understand Spanish. And then again, they're not even from Spain. It is foolish at that point. Because now you're dependent on interpretation instead of you studying the language that you claim to subscribe to. So I agree with that 100%. How you going to claim to be something but don't understand the language? Now you're depending on another language for translation. And that is where things gets lost. Because now you're depending on a third party to give you a better understanding of something that you yourself subscribe to.
Languages be challenged to you.
I couldn't agree with that one. I think you get it, man. I agree with that 100%.
Are you fluent in Aramaic?
No, I'm not fluent in Aramaic, Hebrew.
Are you fluent in Greek?
No.
Are you fluent in Hebrew?
No.
Okay. How much can you believe in this religion if you've not even taken out the time to make a study of these languages? Because the King James Version, which is what you guys rely on, is merely a translation of the manuscripts that come from these languages. So it's like, if you
stop it. Somebody said, you godless mofos ain't gonna make it. You're just a reformed thug with an opinion. Yes, I am a reformed street guy, a reformed thug, and I do have an opinion. Oh man, it's funny, but keep it coming. Yeah.
This thing is life or death and it's of God, you've not even taken out the time to actually try to study to get a better understanding?
Well, that's the different question. The latter part of that is a different question. So on the Eurocentric part, I just want to reiterate again, King James was a brother, so he wasn't a white European. So when we say
you said that 4 times, but I never objected to that. I said he's a European king, and then you ignored that.
I don't know why you're so touchy when I just correct your mistakes. So now,
what was the mistake?
When you thought King James was white,
I never said he was white. I said he was a European king, which is a fact. So you're lying. You have to be honest.
And then
you got to be honest.
I didn't say he was white. I said he was a European.
And that's a fact.
But
That's a fact.
everybody knew
He's a European king.
European under the standing that he was white. So now when
No. You have to stop lying. You have to stop lying. He was
Saying somebody is European, though, I get why you would think that you're saying that he's white, but being European doesn't necessarily mean that you're white. That's like saying that well, you're American. Well, people, you could say, well, there's different types of Americans: Black Americans, white Americans, Latin Americans, Asian Americans, you know. But I see what Captain Tazaryach tried to say, but Saint said, no, I didn't say white. I said he's a European God. I mean, he was a European king based on his geographical location. But I didn't say anything about his race. But I understand why people would associate. I understand why people will link European to whiteness. I get it because that's what's thrown in your face all day. But if you're going to get technical, saying that somebody is European doesn't mean that you're necessarily saying that they are white. But I get why people would think that. So let's get back into it. This is crazy. My thing is this: like, if you want to be a Crip, you need to understand the Crip language. You can't subscribe to being a Keyway or a Crip if you don't truly understand the language and you're just going off of interpretation. Same thing if you want to be a Dumbo, you need to understand that literature and that language if you claim to subscribe to that particular belief. So it's the same thing if you're Christian, Muslim, whatever you claim to be. It's very important that you understand the language of that particular thing that you subscribe to. That's all I'm saying. That goes for anything, not just being a Hebrew, not just being a Christian, not to just being a Muslim. Anything you subscribe to, you should have a full understanding of the language. That's all.
what was the mistake?
when you thought King James was white.
I never said he was white. I said he was a European king, which is you ignored that.
I don't know why you're so touchy when I just correct your mistakes. So now
what was the mistake?
When you thought King James was white.
I never said he was white. I said he was a European king, which is a fact. So you're lying. You have to be honest.
And then
you got to be honest.
I didn't say he was white. I said he was a European.
And that's a fact.
But everybody knew
he's a European king.
European under the standing that he was white. So now
no, you have to stop lying. You have to stop lying. He was king of what country?
When it comes to the Hebrew,
he was king of what country?
He was a king of two kings. He was a king of Scotland and a king of England.
Okay, great. Fantastic. Are those European countries?
Yes, but is he a white?
So he was a European king. Don't play word games because it makes you look disingenuous. You're playing word games.
You're audience,
word games here. No one respects that.
We know the semantic wiggle.
Was King James a Hebrew?
Yes.
Okay, King James is a Hebrew. Okay, fantastic. Is he also a European king?
Called himself a Jacobite. So
he was also a European king?
He called us. I know you don't know that history, so I'm
curious.
You still need a dictionary to study the Bible because you got people who claim to be Christians, but they don't understand the words that they're reading. My people shall perish for the lack of knowledge, for the lack of understanding. Words of God, words of the Most High. So you got a lot of people who profess, people who claim to be Christians, but don't have the full understanding of what they are reading themselves either. I've said that a long time ago. That goes for people in all these different religions. The majority of them don't have a full understanding of what they're actually reading. So you're subscribing to something, you don't have the full understanding of what you subscribe to. This is why God said it, my people suffer from the lack of knowledge. And this is why so many Christians, and not just Christians, people from different religions, this is why they're suffering, because they don't have the knowledge or the understanding. They don't. So they claim to be a part of these religions, but if you look at their personal lives, the majority of them are suffering. Why? Because they lack knowledge, they lack wisdom and understanding. I'm not saying anybody has to be perfect, because none of us on planet Earth is perfect. None of us are, but the least you could do is have an understanding for the thing that you claim to subscribe to. That's the least that you can do. That's like working a job, but you don't understand the task of the job that you were given. Somebody gives you a position at the job, but you don't have a full understanding of your duties and responsibilities. How effective can you be at that job at that point? Not effective. You're not going to be effective at all. So this is why so many people are not effective. They don't have the religion that they claim doesn't serve them because they don't have the full understanding of what they claim to subscribe to. So they suffer from the lack of knowledge. Hopefully that makes sense.
Curious, is he also a European king? Fantastic. Is he also a European king?
Called himself a Jacobite. So
Is he
was
also a European king?
He called us. I know you don't know that history, so I can educate.
I'm curious. Is he also a European king?
He would be considered a European king because he was
Okay, fantastic. So now you just clarified that I was speaking accurately. Now, let's get to the real point. The question that I asked you is, if you're so deep in your religion, why is it that you've not taken out the time to study Greek, which is a European language, mind you, to study Aramaic, or to study Hebrew? If you actually believe this nonsense, why haven't you studied it?
Yeah, when I say European and he tried to follow after me, everybody knows. When it comes to the languages, I said I'm not an expert in it. That does not mean that I've never looked.
B1 Business said you can't prove anything. All religions are man-made. Yeah, well, most of these things on planet, the majority of things, the overwhelming majority of things on planet Earth is man-made, except for things that, like, if it doesn't come from nature, like the trees, the water, the air, that's nature. You know, that was already here when we were born, but all these other things are man-made. The cars we drive, man-made. The homes all these other things are man-made. So I agree with you.
Into it or studied it. So I have studied it, but I don't call myself an expert because I'm intelligent enough to know once I say I'm an expert or something like that, I either got to speak it, know it like that. So when it comes to the translation of the Bible and we read the King James, there's nothing wrong with looking it up in Hebrew to make sure it correlates, to look it up in Greek to make sure it correlates, or to look it up in Aramaic and just make sure it correlates. It does not stop me from properly understanding. So I don't just read the English and never go into the other languages. I do, but I'm not an expert in those languages.
You can put information in a book and pass it down. I agree with that 100%, Big E. But after thousands of years, somebody's going to manipulate it and rewrite something. Like I gave you guys an example earlier, a great example. If let's say something took place 2 weeks ago where there was a fight or there was a shooting. Let's say this happened 2 weeks ago and you ask 20 people what happened. You're going to get different versions. You're going to get different versions of something that just happened 2 weeks ago. So imagine if we're reading a book that was written thousands of years ago. If people will twist the story about something that happened 2 weeks ago, imagine how they're going to twist a story about something that took place thousands of years ago. That's all I'm saying. I just want you guys to consider that. You don't have to agree with me, but let's think about what makes sense. You know it to be true yourself. Something happens last month. You ask 20 people what happened. You're going to get 20 different versions. Maybe 1 or 2 people might have similar stories, but you're going to get 20 different versions about something that happened 2 weeks ago. Moving on. That's all I'm saying.
When it comes to the languages, I said I'm not an expert in it. That does not mean that I've never looked into it or studied it. So I have studied it, but I don't call myself an expert because I'm intelligent enough to know once I say I'm an expert or something like that, I either got to speak it, know it like that. So when it comes to the translation of the Bible and we read the King James, there's nothing wrong with looking it up in Hebrew to make sure it correlates, to look it up in Greek to make sure it correlates, or to look it up in Aramaic and just make sure it correlates.
Somebody said I made no sense. No, you're not making sense. Anybody with common sense knows that I'm speaking of irrefutable facts. If something happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, and then let's say a month later, you ask somebody what happened, you ask 20 people what happened, you're going to get many different versions of the same story. I say that to say this. If people will twist something that happened a month ago, imagine how they're going to twist something that took place thousands of years ago, and none of us was there. None of us who are telling the story today was there. If something happened a month ago, let's talk about the people who were there. You can take 20 people who was there about something that happened a month ago. They're going to give you different versions of the story. So imagine something that took place thousands of years ago and none of us was there. Imagine how that story is going to get manipulated and twisted. That's all I'm saying.
It does not stop me from properly understanding. So I don't just read the English and never go into the other languages. I do, but I'm not an expert in those languages. That's not my expertise. Now, on a Friday,
but real quick, to be honest though, there's a big gap between being an expert and being proficient. There's an enormous gap. And I would even challenge, and we can actually test this out because I'm about to be with a couple contacts that are fluent.
You didn't ask me if I was proficient though. You changed. You didn't ask me if I was proficient in the language.
If you're going to, let me tell you why it's really important when you're going to be a preacher of the word, as I trust you call it. The reason it's so important is because if you're considering biblical Hebrew, biblical Aramaic, and Greek, right? You're dealing in Hebrew, which has a limited tense system. It has poetic parallelism. It has idioms, all things that cannot be translated into English. So you have an extraordinary amount of translation that's occurring, which is utterly bizarre. The idea that you have human beings translating the word of the divine. We have fake news today. So the idea that a book that's thousands of years old is at all accurate is just extraordinary. We can't even agree on what's happening today.
Right. So we can't even agree on what's happening today. And all of us are here to witness what happens today or maybe a week ago. We've all been here. We witnessed it. And you're still going to get different versions of the story if you ask 20 different people. So if something took place thousands of years ago, imagine how that story is going to get manipulated and twisted once mankind gets his hands on those books. Because we know that men are wicked, men are evil, and they twist things and they manipulate things for their own reason, for their own agenda, regardless of whatever their agenda might be. They're going to twist it, they're going to spin it, and then twist the narrative. We can't even agree on things that's happening today, and we are all here to witness it. None of us was here back then, so people didn't twist it and manipulated those stories. That's all I'm saying. People manipulate stories every day. Why do you think you have fake news? You got media, you got people in media today that report fake news. So if we got fake news that took place 2 weeks ago or a month ago, what makes you think there's not fake news that's been reported thousands of years ago, especially when man got their hands on these books to manipulate these scriptures? That's all I'm saying. I'm not telling you guys to not believe in God, Jehovah, or Christ, or whatever you believe in. I'm not saying that. Take heed to this. Things get manipulated once it gets passed down from person to person, especially if you're talking about something that took place 1,000 years ago. People manipulate things that took place 2 weeks ago. That's why we have fake news today. People manipulate stories, and once a story is manipulated, it is considered what? Fake news.
It has idioms, all things that cannot be translated into English. So you have an extraordinary amount of translation that's occurring, which is utterly bizarre. The idea that you have human beings translating the word of the divine. We have fake news today. So the idea that a book that's thousands of years old is at all accurate is just extraordinary. We can't even agree on what's happening today. So you'd have to be a very unrealistic, immature person who believes in fantasy or is using the religion to make himself feel greater and to milk the followers. I yield the floor.
That's a horrible analogy. In the Bible,
I didn't give an analogy. I did not give an analogy. What was the analogy?
The analogy was at the end part when you said you must be using it to feel greater about yourself.
Yes, so that's not an analogy.
No problem. So when you said about the language in the Bible, it says, with stammering lips and with another tongue will I speak to these people. The children of Israel being scattered, even the Hebrew that you talk about, when we talk about the original Hebrew, it didn't have language, it didn't have vowels. Even the consonants were used as vowels. And then as we would either through interaction with other cultures, as we would go into different captivities, the language would begin to change, where vowels would be a part of the language. So when you go back and read it, because of the idioms and understandings, the most important part about understanding the Bible, period, in whatever language you read it in, is that the understanding does not come from your study. The understanding comes from the Most High. Anybody that has read and believed in the Bible, the Lord.
We understand that the understanding comes from the Most High, but most people lack the understanding of the things that they're actually reading. Let me repeat that for you people who are too slow. Some of you get it, but some of you don't get it. You said that the understanding should come from the Most High. I agree 100%. But if you don't understand the language, the original language, now you're depending on interpretation from another language, which could be easily manipulated once it gets passed down from this man to that man and the next man and the next man. Now it is manipulated because people manipulate stories today, which is called fake news. So I agree the understanding should come from the Most High, but most people don't understand the things that they're actually reading. You got Christians and Muslims, you got people who read the King James version or whatever version, you got people who read the Holy Quran, and they don't understand what they're actually reading. So why do people suffer? They suffer from the lack of knowledge. You don't have the proper, you don't have a full understanding of what you're actually reading. That goes for Muslims, Christians, Hebrews, everybody. A lot of these people who claim these different religions don't have a full understanding of what they're actually reading. So if you don't understand what you're reading, how could you follow the word of the Most High when you don't fully understand the word of the Most High? How can you follow something that you have that? How could you follow something and be loyal to the things that you claim to follow, but you lack the understanding? You lack understanding when it comes to the words. So if you don't understand what you're reading, how could you be loyal? How could you be loyal to that doctrine? How could you be loyal to that religion if you don't have the full understanding of what you're actually reading? Maybe that makes too much sense.
Chooses to give understanding to whomever he wants. When Christ said,
there's a lot of people who read the Holy Quran who claim to be Muslims and don't have a full understanding of what they're actually reading. The same thing, same goes with Christians. The same thing goes with Hebrews. A lot of these people who claim these religions lack the knowledge and understanding. Tons of them.
Understanding comes from the Most High. Anybody that has read and believed in the Bible, the Lord chooses to give understanding to whomever he wants. When Christ said,
I just want to repeat that, make sure we're understanding. So you're saying,
and that's a good point. A lot of our people don't read. So when they decide to read, they don't understand what they're actually reading. That's a great point.
the Lord gives understanding to whomever he chooses.
That's correct. When I can read it because of the idioms and understandings, the most important part about understanding the Bible, period, in whatever language you read it in, is that the understanding does not come from your study. The understanding comes from the Most High. Anybody that has read and believed in the Bible, the Lord chooses to give understanding to whomever he wants. When Christ said,
I just want to repeat that, make sure we're understanding. So you're saying the Lord gives understanding to whomever he chooses.
That's correct. When Christ
said, how do I know if you don't understand and you're just saying you do? How do I know if the Lord actually gave it to you or if you're lying?
First, finish answering the first question. When Christ said, I'm glad he kept this from the wise and prudent and gave it unto babes. That's in the Bible. So the wise and
no, you think that's in the Bible. You're not fluent in Aramaic. You're not fluent in Greek. You're not fluent in Hebrew. You think that's in the Bible. That's my whole point, is that all of your fundamentals are shaky.
In the Greek and the English, that's what it says. That is a stupid thing to say.
Would you be kind enough to quote it to me in the Greek?
I don't read Greek, but I can be kind enough to.
I see.
This is the beauty of showing.
No, I'll tell you why it sounds so fraudulent. Because, like, for example, if you were talking to a Muslim and a Muslim said, God stated blah, 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 blah. And you said to the Muslims, hey, would you be kind enough to quote it to me in the Arabic, which is the original language it came down to the people in? They would say, and they give it to you in the Arabic, the original that it came down in. So you can't quote it in the original.
It mean
that. So what makes you think you even know it?
It's still.
See, listen, that's like telling a woman she must submit to you, but then she claims that she don't understand you. How could she submit to something that she lacks the understanding? Like, if she lacks the understanding, how could she submit to something that she has no understanding for? Makes no sense. See, I like to break things down in common sense, so it's applicable and it should be understandable. Everybody, regardless of what religion or what walk of life you come from, you should understand how I broke this down. Broke it down to the molecule. You're telling a woman she needs to submit to your ways and your authority and your leadership. But then she responds and say, well, I don't really understand you. Well, how could she fully submit to anything that you're saying if she lacks the understanding of you and what you actually stand for? And to take it a step further, she lacks the understanding for the things that you're saying to her. So she cannot submit to something that she has no understanding for. You cannot fully submit to a religion if you lack the understanding of that as well.
Does it mean that just because they quote it, that what they're quoting or teaching on it is true? All that means is they can speak the language. That is absolutely ignorant to say that just because you can speak it means you know it. That's why Christ.
Ignorant is lack of knowledge. Ignorant is what you are. You have no knowledge of the three languages that are fundamental to understanding the Bible. So you're failing to concede the fact that you're not qualified. You're not a theologian. You're just a person who is utilizing this to make yourself feel better about who you are. You're using the same classic pattern we've observed in history. This is what Adolf did to make the Germans feel good. He told them that they were supermen. You're doing the same thing.
I got to do that because if anybody wants to, if you're confused, they have great applications that you can find where you can go to Bible Hub and look at the Greek translation, Matthew 11:25. And then as it says, I fully consent to you, Father, O Lord in heaven and earth, that you did hide these things from the wise and learned.
You're reading in English.
Revealed them to babes. And then
Tazaryach, you're reading in English.
On the other side,
you're reading in English.
And then on the other side,
I'll take it a step further. Let's say you get a job. And I said it before, but I want to give you people the understanding so we don't leave anyway. Check it. If you get a job today and you want to be effective at that job, right? You cannot be effective at that job if you don't understand your duties and responsibilities for that position. You're not going to be great at that job. You're not going to be effective at that position if you don't understand your duties and responsibilities. Now that you understand your duties and responsibilities, it is your job to fulfill those duties and responsibilities. But if you lack the understanding of your duties and responsibilities, there's no way you're going to be effective. There's no way that you can fully submit to execute the game plan for that position that you were given. So it's the same thing with religion. If you lack the understanding of that religion, there's no way you can submit to it. If you get with a man and he say, hey, baby, I want you to submit to me and I'll take care of you. When you fall on hard times, I'll take care of you and I'll make sure that you're straight. Now, if the woman says, well, I don't understand you and I don't, then she can never fully submit to you if she lacks the understanding. That goes for religion, that goes for jobs, that goes to relationships. You cannot submit to something that you lack the understanding for. If you lack the understanding, it's impossible to submit to it. Man, this is crazy. You don't understand your duties and responsibilities, then there's no way you could submit. There's no way that you can commit. First, you must commit in order to submit to whatever it is, to a religion, to a relationship, to a particular position at a job. You must submit to fully commit. You're not committed if you haven't fully submitted. How are you going to commit? How are you going to submit to something that you lack the understanding for? It's impossible. You don't even understand what you're reading, so there's no way that you can fully submit. You don't understand your position. There's no way that you can commit because you cannot commit if you don't submit. If you lack the understanding, there's no way that you can fulfill the role of that position.
You have the Greek that it's translated from.
Okay, can you read the Greek?
Everybody wants to, if you're confused, they have great applications that you can find where you can go to Bible Hub and look at the Greek translation, Matthew 11:25. And then as it says, I fully consent to you, Father, O Lord in heaven and earth, that you did hide these things from the wise and learned.
You're reading in English.
Revealed them to babes. And then
you're reading in English.
On the other side,
you're reading in English.
And then on the other side, you have the Greek that it's translated from.
Okay, can you read the Greek?
No, I don't read Greek, which is my point.
Do you understand my point that you're relying on a human being's interpretation of a text that's thousands of years old? Do you understand that that sounds a little bit like that sounds unreliable? Can you concede that? Are you honest enough to concede that?
Here's where I'll give you a point. When it comes
to, are you honest enough to concede that you are relying on interpretations of a book that's thousands of years old and it's probably very unreliable? Can you concede that?
That's what I'm about to say. Just hear what I'm saying. I'm not.
But before you do that, I'm just saying, can you concede the fact
You got to
that
understand.
you're relying on interpretations and that's unreliable?
But just let me. That's why I said I'm not disagreeing with that. When it comes to any ancient text, whether it's in the original or a translation, you're relying on the preservation of said text. So when you say something like, how do you know that it was written back then? I wasn't back then. You're relying on the transmission, relatability. You're relying on that. And that's with anything in history that we did not witness ourselves. You're relying on whoever gave it to you. So if you want to say that's conceding, I don't have an issue with that. I'm believing in a book. I'm believing things written that I did not see. The Bible would call that, the Bible would actually call that faith, the evidence of things not seen. So
first you must submit in order to fully commit. And if you lack the understanding, then there's no way that you could submit or commit because you lack the understanding. And if you lack the understanding, it makes it impossible to submit in order to commit. The first thing you must have is the understanding. If you lack the understanding, you cannot submit or commit. That is common sense. Maybe that goes over a lot of you people's heads.
I didn't see Christ. I didn't see Abraham. I didn't see Matthew. I didn't see them. But do I believe these texts that are written? Absolutely. Whether I read it in the original Greek or the English. But the argument that you're making about the English, you can make the same argument about the Greek because nobody was there. That's a stupid argument. Well, it's not a stupid argument.
No, in fact, it's no, 1 second. If we want to talk about stupid or arrogant or ignorant, those would be better to describe your position.
It's not my position.
Stupid, really. No, really. I'll give you a challenge. Can you name 5 books other than the Bible that validate your biblical interpretations that you've read since you're a scholar?
Medieval Europe validates it. Chosen People.
That's a book?
Yeah, Medieval Europe is the name of the book. It's like written from like 300, it's like 800 AD. It talks about Christ.
The book is called Medieval Europe.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can. I'll text it to you. Let me see if I can find it.
No, don't look it up. See, that's my whole point is that you guys don't know. You're a Hebrew that doesn't speak Hebrew. So my whole point is that all of this stuff is clearly fraudulent. You're a Hebrew that doesn't speak Hebrew.
The book.
Go find a Chinaman that doesn't speak Mandarin.
I was gonna show you the screenshot. That's all.
No, you need the screenshot, but really, if you're a Hebrew, it should be right here. Like if your primary thing is you're a theologian, it should be right here. The fact that you can't name 5 books that validate what you're saying that are outside of the Bible, it proves my point. Consistently, you guys say, I'm a scholar, but I've only read 1 book. Where else do you find a scholar who's only read 1 book?
I only started at 1. And where did I ever say I only read 1 book?
Well, that's you stopped because I asked you about the book and then you had to go check a reference because you don't know.
Have to check a reference. That's what you're lying about. Now you're lying.
No, who's the author of the book?
You're absolutely lying.
No, who's the author of the book?
He's saying, well, give me the author of the book. Captain Tazaryach don't want to answer the question. Okay, if you give me the author of the book, why would you read a book without understanding who's the author of it? You want to know who's the author of the book. Just like when you read the Bible, you want to know where this word comes from. You read a book, you want to know who's the author of it. But for some reason, Captain Tazaryach don't want to give the answer because maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know. Maybe he doesn't know who the author is. And maybe he's too embarrassed to admit that. Just say you don't know. If you don't know something, just say that you don't know. But when you have people who are debating, people don't want to admit that they don't know something because they feel like that might make them look bad. But he's asked you several times, give me the author of the book. And if you cannot give me the author of the book, then please.
That are outside of the Bible, it proves my point. Consistently, you guys say, I'm a scholar, but I've only read 1 book. Where else do you find a scholar who's only read 1 book?
I only started at 1. And where did I ever say I only read 1 book?
Well, that's you stopped because I asked you about the book and then you had to go check a reference because you don't know.
Have to check a reference. That's what you're lying about. Now you're lying.
No, who's the author of the book?
You're absolutely lying.
No, who's the author of the book?
I don't know the author off the top of my head.
You don't know the author off the top of your head. It's the first book you name and you don't even know the author.
you're
So that,
doing
that lets me know that you're not serious.
13 tribes, chosen people of the Caucasus, lost tribes in promised land.
No. Already, you already failed. You named the first book and you didn't know the author of it.
I named just 4 books. Now I named 4 books. You said I
The
couldn't name
first book, you don't know the author.
just name 4.
1 second. You earlier used the word arrogant, you used the word stupid, you used the word ignorant. So would you agree that I asked you to name 4 books and the very first one you couldn't name the author?
But you didn't ask for name an author. Because I could name a book, now you crying and asking for the author.
You're getting angry because your ignorance was exposed. There's no reason for me to be angry. I exposed you. You're the one that was found out to be ignorant.
I named 4 books though.
Okay, so you said the first book was called Medieval Europe, and who's the author?
Then I said chosen people of the Caucasus, 13 tribes.
I said, who's the author of the first book?
I don't know the author of that book. I don't have to know the author of the book.
That's you should. You should.
You should know the author of the book because you want to know who the author is, the source of the information. So why would you believe in this book and you don't even understand the source of the information? So I guess the source isn't important. I'm gonna read this book and take it for face value, and I don't even want to know what's the source of this information. That's crazy. If somebody gives you a story and say this happened, you know what they're gonna say? Well, who told you that? If I tell you today, hey man, this happened over there, they're gonna say, how do you know that? Who told you that? Was you there? No, I wasn't there, but the homie Wooty Whoop was there. Now we're gonna look and see if the homie Wooty Whoop is a valid source. Somebody tells you something happened today, they're gonna say, were you there? Did you see it? No, I wasn't there, but my homeboy such and such was there. What's the source of this information? Who's the source of this information? Who is the author of this book? That is very important. Huh? Like if you go to testify in a criminal case, they want to know if you're if you're going to be a credible witness or not. Is this guy a drug addict? Who is he? Is this guy a credible source? I'm just saying. So to say that the source of the information doesn't matter is foolishness.
Be angry. I exposed you. You're the one that was found out to be ignorant.
So now the source doesn't matter. No, I get it. Sometimes the truth can be the truth. I get it. I understand that. Don't shoot the messenger. But sometimes you have to understand who is the messenger, because sometimes some people don't have the credibility or the integrity. Some people lack integrity, and that they lack integrity. Why should we believe in somebody's story if this particular individual lacks integrity? So the source is very important. We have to acknowledge that. To say that you read something and you don't know the source of this information is crazy.
What books though?
1 second. You earlier used the word arrogant, you used the word stupid, you used the word ignorant. So would you agree that I asked you?
Let me give you an example, and I don't mean to stop it, but I have to say to make sure that you guys get the likes up. If you read a book right now and you find out that the author of the book was a Nazi, how much would you believe in what you just read? You found out that this book was written by a Nazi. Let's say you read the book and you enjoyed it. Then you found out that the author was a damn Nazi. And we all know that Nazis are biased. Nazis are racist. Would you have the same belief in that book once you find out that the author of the book is a damn Nazi? I don't think you would. So what am I saying? The source of the information matters. The source of the information matters.
Name 4 books, and the very first one you couldn't name the author?
But you didn't ask for name an author. Because I could name a book, now you crying and asking for the author.
You're getting angry because your ignorance was exposed. There's no reason for me to be angry. I exposed you. You're the one that was found out to be ignorant.
I named 4 books though.
Okay, so you said the first book was called Medieval Europe, and who's the author?
Then I said chosen people of the Caucasus, 13 tribes.
I said, who's the author of the first book?
I don't know the author of that book. I don't have to know the author of the book.
That's you should. You should. If you're here proselytizing, you should.
Why should I know the author of the book? Why?
I'll tell you why. Because if you position yourself as an expert If you're talking about something that is so critical that you believe if you don't follow your way, you're going to burn in hell for all eternity, or that this is the gateway to heaven, something that serious, you would think that you'd be a bit more informed.
That's
You think you'd be
Eurocentric.
a bit more informed.
Europeans taught you you're going to burn in hell.
You think you'd be a bit more informed.
You just showed how stupid you are. The Bible does not
Imagine,
teach you.
what are the chances that you're the smart one and I'm the dumb one? You are a Hebrew who doesn't speak Hebrew. You don't speak Aramaic. You don't understand biblical Hebrew. You don't speak Greek.
You answer?
So you're just a grifter.
You're going to burn in hell. Who
You're
taught
just a
you
grifter.
that?
You're just a grifter.
Who taught you that?
Young man.
Who taught you? God is that. God. Who taught you that?
Hold on one second. It doesn't matter. I don't believe in any of this. I say it's all nonsense.
Who taught you that?
It's all nonsense. None of it matters.
He said it's all nonsense. See, this is where Captain Tazaryach is losing. Saint said, I don't believe in any of this. So you can't say who taught me this. I'm just speaking on what people believe in. I'm speaking on something that other people believe in. Saint said he doesn't believe in any of these religions. So you can't then say, well, who taught you this? No, they didn't teach me anything because I just told you I don't believe in any of this nonsense. So you can't turn around and then say, who taught you? I told you I don't believe in none of this nonsense. Captain Tazaryach is losing. He really is. Saint in the center is chewing him up intellectually, and the conversation speaks for itself. I don't subscribe to any of this stuff. So you can't then turn around and say, well, who taught you this?
Taught you you're going to burn in hell.
You should.
Why
That's
should
my
I?
whole point.
Why should I know the author of the book? Why?
I'll tell you why.
You should know the author of the book because the source of the information matters. If you're teaching scriptures in the Bible and you're speaking on information that's biblical, then the source actually matters. Because guess what? If I turn around and told you the author was a Nazi, then how credible would that information be when we all know that Nazis are racist and biased, especially towards Black people and Jews? So we can't then say that the source doesn't matter. If you found out that the source of the information was a Nazi, you might look at that book in a completely different way at that particular point. So in reality, the source of the information matters. Credibility matters. We can't say that it doesn't. You want to get a job in a high position, they want to know who you are and what credentials you have because the source actually matters. We're not going to play that game here.
Because if you position yourself as an expert, if you're talking about something that is so critical that you
shout out to T-Fan1 for the Cash App. Shout out to T-Fan1 for the Cash App. Shout out to the 7030 show for the Cash App. Let's get some more you brothers and sisters to support this show. Knowledge and wisdom, certified ism, game delivered by King Supreme on a Saturday morning. Jack, now that is realer than rap.
Believe if you don't follow your way, you're the one that was found out to be ignorant.
I named 4 books though.
Okay, so you said the first book was called Medieval Europe, and who's the author?
Then I said Chosen People of the Caucasus, 13 tribes.
I said who's the author of the first book?
I don't know the author of that book. I don't have to know the author of the book. That's
no,
like
you should. You should. If you're here proselytizing, you should.
Why
That's
should
my
I?
whole point.
Why should I know the author of the book? Why?
I'll tell you why. Because if you position yourself as an expert, if you're talking about something that is so critical that you believe if you don't follow your way, you're going to burn in hell for all eternity, or that this is the gateway to heaven, something that's serious, you would think that you'd be a bit more informed.
That's
Eurocentric. A bit more informed.
Europeans taught you you're going to burn in hell.
You'd be a bit more informed.
You just showed how stupid you are. The Bible does not
imagine.
Teach you.
What are the chances that you're the smart one and I'm the dumb one? You are a Hebrew who doesn't speak Hebrew. You don't speak Aramaic. You don't understand biblical Hebrew. You don't speak Greek.
You answer?
So you're just a grifter.
You're going to burn in hell. Who taught you that? Who taught you that? Who taught you that?
Young man.
Who taught you? God is that. God. Who taught you that?
Hold on one second. It doesn't matter. I don't believe in any of this. I say it's all nonsense.
Who taught you that?
It's all nonsense. None of it matters.
Who taught you that?
So you have to ask yourself,
why did you say
why is it that you only know one book?
You said it because you was
Tazaryach,
taught. You believe
I don't believe in any of it. I already told you. I think you're all fools.
Say it.
I think you're all fools. So Tazaryach, why is it? Hold on one second.
said it
Why
like that.
is it you're trying to run from the fact that you're without knowledge? You're trying to run from the fact that you named the first book and you couldn't tell me the author.
Name 4 books.
You're trying to run from that.
Ran the 4 books right off the top of my head. It wasn't even that deep.
Okay,
But when
let me write it down. So the first one, you don't know the author. Now give me the other ones. Give me the other ones.
To do is better.
Oh, let me get the other ones. Let me write down the other ones. What are the other 4 books?
Make me at least
No,
know.
1 second. What are the other 4 books? I want to learn. What are the other 4 books?
You're teaching them. If they don't listen to this, they
Wait, what are the other 4 books? I want to learn.
heaven.
I want to learn. What are the other 4 books?
Listening is an art. You can go back.
Calm down. I just want to know. I'm going to write it down. What are the other 4 books?
I'm not going to say the books again. I said them 3 times.
No.
Yes.
What are the other 4 books?
Yes. All you got to do is go back and watch the replay because listening.
No, because this is core to our conversation. Right now, you're exposing that you're either a person who was lying or without knowledge. Because we're having a conversation about your religion. And I simply asked you, I said, outside of your Bible, which you don't understand because you don't have the requisite knowledge to understand. Aside from that, what are 4 books that validate your understanding? So would you be kind enough to tell me what the books are?
White man taught you. I told you the books.
Okay, I'm going to tell me one more time.
No.
What are the books?
No.
Come on. You look really bad. You look really bad right now. It's okay to say I was lying. It's okay to say I don't know.
But this is like a petty woman position.
No. I'm asking you because I want to learn. I want to check your sources because you're positioning yourself as a scholar and an expert. We just want to check your sources.
You spoke about hell, and I
just calm down. What are the books? Tazaryach. I'm telling the whole world right now. You only know 1 book, the King James Version Bible. You only know 1 book, and that's why you're scared to name other books.
I named the books already, but I
would like to check right now.
You and your feelings.
You did not name them, and I would just like to check. Just name them one more time.
You got cut.
Just name them one more time.
You feel? I told you no already. I said it already. I answered it 3 times.
Why are you so offended to tell me what the books are so we can explore them?
Chilling. I'm not offended by it. I just said I'm not doing it again.
We're in a discussion. Why won't you name the books?
Because if I answer your question 3 times.
You did not answer the question 3 times. So if you calm down. Tazaryach, you're embarrassed right now and you're being very dishonest.
You didn't listen.
Everyone watching knows that there's no reason you can't name the books right now. We just want to take a look into the books so we can validate your knowledge. That's it. The real reason you don't want to name the books is because you don't know the title of the books and you don't know the authors. You tried to say it out really fast while I was talking. Now I'm yielding the floor so that I can hear you. You're being stubborn and crying. You might as well just run away. You might as well just rage quit because you're refusing to participate in the discussion.
Those tactics.
So are you so angry that you're taking the childlike, stubborn position of I'm not gonna say? Just admit that you don't know. There's nothing wrong with saying you don't know everything. I don't know everything.
Tactics don't work.
Tazaryach, I don't know everything.
That don't work.
You don't have to know everything.
Right,
so would you be kind enough to just tell me the things that validate your understanding of the Bible?
Sassy man. That's how you sound. You sound like a sassy man.
I understand. You're insulting me. That's fine. I'm just politely asking if you tell me the 4 books.
No, that's insulting.
I'm politely asking, would you tell me the 4 books?
And I'm again telling you, listening is an art, and I answered it already 3 times.
That's fine. I'm just asking you politely if you tell me now.
You can rewind the tape.
If you tell me now, what are the 4 books?
You can get them yourself. You can rewind the tape.
We're in a discussion right now. I want to discuss the books.
Now, give me some feedback in the comments. Who's making more sense, Saint and Sinner or Captain Tazaryach? Who's making more sense? Right? Give me y'all thoughts in the comments.
About the books. I named the 4 books.
Well, we can discuss them if you just be kind enough to tell me what the books are, and we can discuss them now. I'd like to discuss them.
If you actually have skill as a debater to have
no. It's not about debating right now. It's about you being stubborn. I'm just politely asking you, man to man, to tell me what the books are.
I'm not being stubborn. I'm just not naming the books.
You should name the books because a lot of times when you're having a conversation, sometimes you might be talking while somebody else is talking. So Saint is just saying, name the books and give me the author of those books. And Captain Tazaryach refuses to do so. Just give me the authors of the books. See, I don't have a problem repeating something because I agree. I agree. Listen, I believe in what I'm saying, so I have no problem repeating what I just said. So, Captain Tazaryach, if you truly believe in your message, you shouldn't have a problem repeating what you said, because guess what? Things get, a lot of times things gets lost in translation. And sometimes when we're both speaking, we tend to talk over one another. So there's no problem. I don't have a problem with repeating something that I actually said. So just repeat it, name the books again, and also give us the authors of these books. That shouldn't be a problem.
You said stuttering. We're in a discussion right now. I want to discuss the books. I want to discuss the books.
About the books. I named the 4 books.
Well, we can discuss them if you just be kind enough to tell me what the books are, and we can discuss them now. I'd like to discuss them.
If you actually have skill as a debater to have
No. It's not about debating right now.
He said, give me the author of the books. I want to know the source of these books, because the source of the information is very important. If you go to testify in the case, they want to know, is this a crackhead? Is this a criminal? Who is this person that's giving us this information? It's very important that you bring a reliable source. Let me repeat that. It's very important that you bring a reliable source, especially in a criminal case. So the messenger matters, because we don't want to bring up dope things and criminals who might have their own reason to lie and manipulate things, because they themselves might have a case and they might come up here and say things to get out of a situation that they put themselves in. So if that, in that particular situation, the source of the information matters. It's the same thing when you're talking about scriptures and biblical history. The source of the information matters, because if you found out 2 days later that the source of that information was a Nazi, we all know that Nazis are racist. We all know that Nazis are biased towards black people. You might not look at that. You might not look at that as a credible source once you find out that the author is a Nazi. So the source of the information matters. So give us the authors of these books.
It's about you being stubborn. I'm just politely asking you, man to man, to tell me what the books are.
I'm not being stubborn. I'm just not naming the books.
You mean stubborn. You said stuttering. Now, I'm just politely asking you to just name what the books are. That's all I'm asking.
I'm not, because I did it 3 times. I can't help it if you can't keep up. You're too slow.
Oh, did I embarrass you? I embarrassed you?
How?
I didn't mean to embarrass you.
How did you do that, though?
We're trying to have a discussion about the books, and you're scared to say what the books are. Here's the thing.
Interacted with you like
you won't name the books because you're a pseudo intellectual. You're a fake scholar. And I knew you were a fake scholar, because all of you guys are fake scholars. And that's why you can only ever reference the King James Version Bible. Just imagine claiming that you understand the book and you know it's an interpretation, and you've not taken out the time to be diligent to become conversational and functional in the requisite languages.
I still don't get it.
It just shows that you only do it so that you have something to say, because without this King James Version book, you'd be nothing and nobody.
Hey man, the source matters. We can't say that the source doesn't matter. We have to be honest. It matters. Oh yeah, buddy, it matters.
About food.
Gotcha.
Like, is this how you
be nothing and nobody? I explain to you guys, every time we encounter a preacher, it's your effort to be somebody. Because without that, it's like,
give us the author of the books. It's one thing to name a book, but you have to give us the source of the information. Who's the author of these books? That matters. If you read a book that you believed in and I told you that the author was a Nazi and a drug addict, would you still believe in that book that you just read? Or would you say, well, that's not a credible source? Let's be honest. And I think we all know the answer if we're operating from common sense and logic.
Like, is this how you
be nothing and nobody?
If you read a Bible, right, you read this book, but you found out that the author was a Nazi and a drug addict, and you find out that that was the source of the information, come on, man, you might look at that book completely different. So the source of the information matters. That's the point. Just like when you found out that the white man is the one who gave you Christianity, then you understand that the white man has manipulated these books to control you, to subjugate you, to enslave you. So the white man manipulated those books for his own devilish reasons. So at that particular time, the source actually matters. You read a book right now, you find out that the author was a Nazi and a drug addict, you might look at that book completely different. The source matters.
I explain to you guys, every time we encounter a preacher, it's your effort to be somebody. Because without that, it's like, well, what have you accomplished? What have you done? Nothing.
Somebody.
And I'm talking to you as a man, and let me tell everybody watching how I know that you guys talk nonsense. Here it is.
Mm-hmm.
You believe in a book. Does your book tell you to avoid gluttony?
It says to not be a glutton. Correct.
Not be a glutton. Okay. Your body, do you think that your body reflects obeying, not being gluttonous?
Facts. Glutton has nothing to do with your body type.
It's not your body type.
Has nothing to do with your body. That's not what a glutton is.
Gluttony has nothing to do with your body. It has nothing to do with food consumption.
No, because you could be a glutton over more than just food. You could.
That's correct. But I think we can agree that gluttony is primarily understood to be something involving food consumption.
Gluttony is not just about food.
Gotcha. So you're tap dancing. That's fine. That's fine. Very good. And this is what women typically do. Now, here's the second piece. Here's the second piece. In your religion, does it permit drinking alcohol? In your religion, does it permit drinking alcohol?
Yes, you can have alcohol.
Yes, it does. Very good. And this is how we know it's fraudulent. 178,000 people die per year of alcohol in America. 178,000 people dead because of alcohol. Your book is fraudulent. It doesn't even protect people from the basics.
He had a point with the glutton part and didn't even know what glutton means.
Your book is fraudulent.
Don't know the Bible.
My point is that you are gluttonous, and you are a representation of the fact that you don't even believe and you don't even follow the religion. You're fake laughing. Everyone knows the fake laugh. I advised you 20 minutes ago not to do the fake laugh because it just makes you look silly. You're trying to look like you're relaxed, but you're fake laughing. Thank you for stopping the fake laugh when I called it out. I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
I didn't stop. Just me.
Now, moreover, the fact of the matter is that I asked you to name 4 books outside of the Bible.
And I named them.
You scared to name the books and the authors because you don't know the authors. You were just saying the titles of books, but you don't know the authors because you're not well studied. You are not lettered. And that's the problem with the internet. It allows people like you who are virtually nobodies and not lettered to come on and babble. Let me ask you this. Without the Hebrew Israel thing, without the Hebrew Israelite thing, what would you be teaching? If you weren't teaching the Bible, what would you be teaching?
I am a certified wireless network administrator. And before I was an Israelite, people asked me, like when I was growing up hustling and stuff like that, my grandfather was a pastor. My father was in the church and stuff like that. I just didn't resonate with the church because it just didn't feel right the older that I got. So as far as being spiritual, I always was the guy that people would come to, kind of like my father. My father. No,
that's fine. But I'm saying, what would you be teaching if you weren't on the Hebrew Israelite grift?
Well,
what significance would you have in this world if it wasn't for your religious claims?
My life was insignificant before I became an Israelite.
Correct. And this is the case with all of the preachers. That's why they go to religion. Because they want to be somebody.
I didn't even want to be nobody.
No, that's not true. That's not true. All of you religious guys, you associate with the Most High.
Hey, like my man Sinful would say, hey, man, the verbal crucifixion comes before the resurrection. Dig that. The verbal crucifixion comes before the resurrection. Sometimes you got to get broken down in order to build yourself back up. You dig.
Was insignificant before I became an Israelite.
Correct. And this is the case with all of the preachers. That's why they go to religion. Because they want to be somebody.
I didn't even want to be nobody.
No, that's not true. That's not true. All of you religious guys, you associate with the Most High. The Most High. So that you can be exalted. So that people can look up to you. That's why you guys do it. And that's my whole point. We never meet anyone. One second. We never meet any of you guys who were somebody before the grift. Maybe you might have been a basketball player, then you fell off, and then you found another way to get significance. Human beings cry out for significance. And in your case, you're using God. And this has been something that's been very common. The Black community has been victim of this a lot.
Right. You do realize that your interrupting is not in the sense of what you said in the beginning. Your interrupting now is when you can get easily cut. You just interrupt and then just use that excuse. I said I was going to interrupt. Because I don't think that I'm significant. I don't walk around here trying to be this guy. I just walk around and teach and do class. Whatever comes with it naturally. This live.
Hey, man, the verbal crucifixion comes before the resurrection. In other words, you must get broken down before you can build yourself back up. So the verbal crucifixion comes before the resurrection. Just like if you got a house that's infested with termites, you must tear the whole house down, tear down the foundation in order to rebuild properly. So the verbal crucifixion always comes before your resurrection. You must get broken down in order to build yourself back up in many cases. Let's get back to the content, though.
Stream, for example. I think I messaged you. We corresponded for about the past 6-7 months off and on. But this was impromptu. I didn't contact you impromptu. I contacted you to schedule something, but you contacted me to do this. So if anybody is giving me shine, you're assisting in that shine because you asked me on the fly.
It's irrelevant to the point. It's irrelevant to the point. The point is that your entire grift is because you are insignificant. That's my point. All of you guys are insignificant. You have no unique talents. You have no unique skills. You're not accomplished. So this is the only thing you can do to become relevant. That's my point. You don't believe in your religion. That's why the gluttony part, you don't follow it. You have a religion that is false, fictional,
Clearly, you think of somebody. I think the sound went out. You good? No, I can't hear you. No, I cannot hear you.
I'm aware. Yeah, sound.
That's right. So clearly, you think I'm somebody because you contacted me about an hour ago and said
that's irrelevant to the point yet again.
Irrelevant. Let me tell you about me.
I already told you in our first debate. I like you.
I don't have no trump with that. But
yeah, you like you. I told you that in our first debate.
You like me, not because I tried to get in your space, not because I tried to be this guy, but because of the respect that you saw, which is different. Because you do have people like pastors. You got people in all different spectrums that want to do something to make a name for themselves. That's in every walk of life. That's not a Christian thing.
Come on, man. We need more people to respect and appreciate this game. We need more likes and we need more contributors on that super chat. We need more contributors on that Cash App. Act like you love the content. Hey, man, it's knowledge that you can't get in college. I suggest that you pay homage. Game delivered by King Supreme. Drop some respect on it, man. But let's continue.
Let me tell you about me.
I already told you in our first debate. I like you.
I don't have no trump with that. But
yeah, you like me. I told you that in our first debate.
You like me, not because I tried to get in your space, not because I tried to be this guy, but because of the respect that you saw, which is different. Because you do have people like pastors. You got people in all different spectrums that want to do something to make a name for themselves. That's in every walk of life. That's not a Christian thing. That's everything. And then you got and then you got people, and what I love about the Bible, then you got people that get gifted with the gift, but they don't carry themselves like they want to be that guy. That's me. I don't carry myself like that. That's why you can contact me and say, hey, Cap, what you doing? Let's do something. You know why you did that? Because you had a certain level of respect. He's a good guy. He's the one everybody talks like that. That's better to have than to have.
I'll tell you precisely why I contacted you. We were going back. We had communicated in our DMs probably on a number of random things. And then you said, let's have another conversation. Let's have a debate.
Right. That was a couple
and
weeks.
I agreed. I said, yeah, we should do that.
Right.
We're both probably very busy people. I just had an impromptu conversation with another person who subscribes to a similar way of thinking. And then people said, get Tazaryach. Now, is there any doubt that you're a lot smarter than the last guy? Absolutely. That's why I brought you on, and that's why I like you. Because you're not dumb. That's why I like you.
Appreciate it.
That's precisely why I reached out to you to have the conversation impromptu. But what I'm telling you is that I know for certain what human nature is, and everyone, they scream out for attention. Babies cry for it, men die for it. And what I know for certain, especially with religion, because it operates in a very specific way in people's lives. When people come to Jesus, that's usually after they fell apart or they're recovering from addiction. When people want to become preachers,
and that's true, man. We got to start coming to God before we go through a hardship. Before we have struggles in our life, you should be loyal to the word, loyal to the Most High. It shouldn't take for you to go through a bad situation in order to submit to the Most High. Most people submit to the Most High after they go to prison, when they're trying to get over a drug addiction, whether they're trying to get past their family issues. Once they're trying to get past their daddy issues, then they run to the Most High. We need to pay homage to the Most High before we get ourselves in a bad situation. That's all I'm saying.
these are not the humble among us, though they may pretend to have humility. These are the people who want to be.
Let's submit to the word of God even when times are good. Stop waiting until times get bad to run to God so that God can perform some type of miracle in your life, because you're going through trials and tribulations. You are now living in bad situations. That's all I'm saying. Game delivered by King Supreme. Oh, yeah.
Out in front, scream out for attention. Babies cry for it, men die for it. And what I know for certain, especially with religion, because it operates in a very specific way in people.
What I'm saying is be loyal to God before you start going through a hardship. You shouldn't have to go. Most people wait until they're going through something bad in order to reach out to God. Reach out to God when times are good. Reach out to God when times are bad. Most of you people don't care about God until you start going through something. Reach out to God even when times are good. Stop waiting until times become bad. You got to wait until you go through trials and tribulations, dealing with bad situations, before you reach out to the Most High, before you reach out to God. That's all I'm saying. It's all about prevention. I want to prevent these things from happening. So align yourself with the word of God. Align yourself with the Most High, even when things are going good in your life. That's the point that I am making. Hopefully, those of us with common sense understand that.
What I'm telling you is that I know for certain what human nature is, and everyone, they scream out for attention. Babies cry for it, men die for it. And what I know for certain, especially with religion, because it operates in a very specific way in people's lives. When people come to Jesus, that's usually after they fell apart or they're recovering from addiction. When people want to become preachers, these are not the humble among us, though they may pretend to have humility. These are the people who want to be out in front. It's a fact. Furthermore, the people who preach, that's because they're not leaders in business. They're not great athletes, professional athletes right now. This is their thing. Just like a professional athlete is known by his basketball. This is a way for human beings to find significance. And what I'm saying is, it's one of the most despicable ways, because you're propagating fairy tales and lies, which we all should know to be lies.
Right.
And so I bring you on because you're intelligent, but also to utilize you as a foil to expose the foolishness, which is detrimental and unproductive to the Black people.
5 minutes. Wait, before I speak, 5 minutes. You asked me to give you that warning. 5 minutes.
I agree with you. C-Mac said something that was very real. He said, very true, but unfortunately, that's what the Most High has to do in order to humble us, to turn to him. See, some people are not humble enough to go to God when times are good. They got to go through trials and tribulations and live through bad situations before they turn to God, before they start to give God their undivided attention. Unfortunately, they must go through a bad situation before they give God their undivided attention. You dig what I'm saying? What I'm saying is we need to give God our undivided attention before we go through a bad situation. Even when things are good in our life, we should still submit and answer to God, even when times are good. Stop waiting until things get bad before you give God your undivided attention. That's all I'm saying. It's all about prevention. I want to stop bad things from happening, so I'm all about prevention. Stop waiting until a bad situation takes place in your life before you give God your undivided attention. That's all I'm saying. Hopefully that resonates. Hopefully that makes sense to you all.
This is a way for human beings to find significance. And what I'm saying is, it's one of the most despicable ways, because you're propagating fairy tales and lies, which we all should know to be lies.
Right.
And so I bring you on because you're intelligent, but also to utilize you as a foil to expose the foolishness, which is detrimental and unproductive to the Black people.
5 minutes. Wait, before I speak, 5 minutes. You asked me to give you that warning. 5 minutes.
Oh, I appreciate you. I yield the floor.
No problem. What you're saying is not incorrect. It's just incorrect about me. And that's why you can't make what you're trying to say, you can't put that just in the religious world. That world that thought process applies to anything. You got Christians that are doing it to be seen, Muslims doing it to be seen, rappers, entertainers, Israelites. You have a lot of people that do this in a dishonest fashion. And they're usually the ones that can last for a time, and then usually they're easily wiped out. They're usually either gone away. What I thank the Most High for, and what I boast in the Most High for, is that I've been able to do this for 16 to 17 years and have never had a stain like that on my reputation. I've never had the stain of Cap is doing this to get fame, to get glory, to do this, to do that, to do that. I'm actually the opposite. So you can't put me in that class that you're putting everybody else. But everybody will see in this conversation, which on the playback, because people are telling me I'm being muted. And if we see that, that's all you need. I'm just telling you what's being said.
No one has muted you. No one has muted you.
Okay, no problem. And I guess we're
telling you you're being muted. Are you seeing that in the live chat?
Yeah. So
live chat saying you've been muted?
Yeah. So
you may recall at the very beginning, I said that you were fading out and you said I was fading out. Perhaps it's a connectivity issue.
It could be just that simple.
I don't know why you would repeat that you're being muted when I already clarified that you're not being muted.
I would hope that you wouldn't be that crass to do that.
Yeah, but why would you repeat that when I already stated that you're not being muted?
Just like because I like stuff to be on the record. That's why.
My reputation is good the world around.
As well as mine.
Yes. And so if I told you one time that you're not being muted, there's only two of us on the call. Like if I mute you, I might as well remove you. It'd be a lecture at that point.
Got you. My reputation is so solid that I don't have a stain on my rep. That's what's more important to me. That's why I don't act thirsty. And that's why I get contacted, not just by you. I get contacted.
We need 300 some people watching. See, I was going to drop the link, but the fact that we only have 171 likes and only a handful of people supporting, that's my cue to just keep talking. You know, if you guys, and I'm not saying you want to come up, but we need more engagement. We need more support for this knowledge that you can't get in college. We only got a handful of supporters, 300 some people watching, and only 170 some people bless that like button. There's something wrong with that picture. Let's continue.
That you're not being muted.
I would hope that you wouldn't be that crass to do that.
Yeah, but why would you repeat that when I already stated that you're not being muted?
Just like because I like stuff to be on the record. That's why.
My reputation is good the world around.
As well as mine.
Yes. And so if I told you one time that you're not being muted, there's only two of us on the call. Like if I mute you, I might as well remove you. It'd be a lecture at that point.
Got you. My reputation is so solid that I don't have a stain on my rep. That's what's more important to me. That's why I don't act thirsty. And that's why I get contacted, not just by you. I get contacted by a lot of people to do interviews, debates, XYZ like that. And so I want the emphasis and everybody to understand, I don't have to chase anybody to do anything. I'm not in this for
I never suggested that you chase me. I never suggested that.
I'm not saying that you did. I'm making a statement though. What I do this
Saint made a lot of points, and I don't have to agree with everything. But what I'm saying is, if you claim to be a Hebrew, then you should understand the language of Hebrew. You should understand that language instead of depending on instead of you depending on people, you know, third class parties to come in and give you the interpretation. You should understand the language for yourself, especially if you claim that you are a Hebrew. If you are Crip but don't understand Crip literature, then how could you submit to being a Crip when you don't understand the language or the literature? So you claim to be a Hebrew but don't really understand the language. That doesn't make any sense. You claim to be a Christian, but you don't understand the language of Christianity. That doesn't make sense. You claim to be a Muslim, but you don't understand the Holy Quran or what the words really mean. So how loyal could you be to something if you lack the understanding for it? So I think Saint made a lot of good points in this conversation. He said, give me the authors of these books. Do you understand Hebrew? Well, you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, but you can't speak the language of Hebrew. You can't speak the language. You're depending on an English language for interpretation. Now, when you have to depend on interpreters and interpretation, then you're going to get lost in the situation. You need to understand the language for yourself, regardless of what language, regardless of what religion, regardless of what organization you submit to. It's very important that you understand the language and the literature. If you're going to subscribe or submit to a particular religion or a belief, it's very important that you understand the language.
Or is to wake my people up to give them an identity, and I'm good at it. What I am good at is having a.
How you gonna claim to be a gangster disciple, but you don't understand gangster disciple literature? You're depending on second and third class parties to give you the understanding. If you're gonna be a GD, it's very important that you understand the language and the literature. I don't care what you decide to be. It's very important that you understand the language and the literature. And if you don't, then that looks fraudulent on your part. That's all I'm saying.
Voice of reason that my people resonate with, and I hold that responsibility to the highest regard. So this is not a religion, this is a belief. So if you're not my people, it's not for you. I don't care what you do with it. If you are my people, I will probably go to great lengths to try to get across to you. Like my brother Marquette on here. I said your name correct, right? Marquette? Well, like my brother Marquette. He's a hard-headed, stubborn black man, as he would probably say I am. And one day he may say Kwame Yashala. One day he may let go of the false.
I would not describe you as hard-headed or stubborn. I would not. I describe you as prideful. But
now
before you go, because I know you gave me the 5-minute warning, you've been talking for about nearly 3 minutes. So I just want to state one thing that I want the audience to record.
Take 60 seconds? So, because I do got to go at 7:30. Can we both take 60 seconds? Is that fair?
You were just speaking for 2 minutes, though.
Okay.
I'll yield the floor for your 60 seconds. I yield the floor. Go ahead. I yield the floor.
You take 2 minutes.
No, please, I yield the floor to you. I just yield the floor. Go ahead.
Because I was just talking. But if
no,
you
go
take,
ahead. I yield the floor to you.
No, I just want to close out.
I yield the floor to you. I yield the floor to you.
I want to be the one to close out after you speak.
That's why I'm yielding the floor to you, though.
But do you have something to say, though?
Please, why play the game again? I just yielded the floor to you. I just made a note for everyone that the time was winding down, which means I'm time conscious. So I'm yielding the floor to you. If you'd be kind enough to utilize your 60 seconds, and then I will close out my show.
No problem. I appreciate Saint hitting me up, or Marquette hitting me up for this debate. I don't even want to call this a debate. It ended up just being almost a pointless back and forth. There probably are some good points that maybe somebody could take and walk away from. What I would suggest we do is maybe have a more formal conversation where there's not as many interruptions. I think interruptions on both sides kind of causes confusions. There's no straight linear way for the conversation to go. Maybe this does lead to a part 2. I think anybody can clearly see that being an Israelite is different than a religion, and we should not be Eurocentric. I do appreciate you bringing me on your platform, and I look forward to, we do a part 2. I land.
Thank you. The important piece here is you said.
No, I think Saint made a lot of good points about Dr. Umar, right? Like it's not hard to pick apart Dr. Umar. Dr. Umar is one of the easiest people that you can defeat. He's easy. He's easy like Sunday morning. Dr. Umar doesn't listen. Dr. Umar never delivers on anything he says or talks about. So it is easy to pick him apart and to destroy him intellectually. Dr. Umar makes it that easy. My thing is this: if you claim to be a Hebrew, then you need to understand the language. You claim to be a Christian, you need to understand the language in the Bible. You claim to be a Muslim, you need to understand the language in the Holy Quran. That's all I'm saying. And a lot of you people are going to get upset. A lot of you people are going to get mad, but I don't care. I'm not concerned with your feelings. I'm more concerned with the facts and the truth.
You spent 16 years essentially as a preacher. And what I want everyone to understand is the difference between you and I. The reason that you can spend 16 years or even 60 years as a preacher is because there's no deliverable. You just deliver words and messages. I'll pray for you. In my case, if I say I'm going to teach you business,
everything is a hustle. You going to work for the white man every day is a hustle. Everything can be considered a hustle. You can say that religion is a hustle. The pastors get rich and all the followers and the members of the church, they're struggling, they're suffering. They come every week to give an offering, but the only person that's balling for the most part is the pastor or the preacher. So everything can be considered a hustle. You work a 9 to 5 every day. The white man is scamming you and he's hustling you. He's not giving you the money that you're actually worth. So if we want to get down to the nitty gritty, the truth ain't never pretty. It gets pretty damn ugly. You going to work for the white man, that is a hustle. You going to the church or the mosque, that can be considered a hustle. You're a Hebrew Israelite. People say that ain't nothing but a hustle. So that could be said for everything. I'm just saying.
I have to deliver the guap, the moolah. If I say that I'm going to teach you something that has a deliverable, you can assess if I failed or if I succeeded in doing what I said I was going to do. I haven't picked up a book that came from the Europeans in a European language.
We can say that religion in general is a hustle. The pastor and the preachers, the leaders of these cults or organizations or religions or whatever you want to call it, you can say that that's a hustle for the leaders of all of these religions and organizations. Because we all know that a lot of these religions are what? Man-made. You don't know this to be true yourself. Why? Because you wasn't there. You're just going off of what somebody told you thousands of years ago. You don't know how that book has been manipulated. You don't know the authors. You don't know the source of the information. You really don't know. So that within itself can be considered what? A hustle, a scam. Pastors and preachers been scamming people out of money for decades. Psychologists and therapists are scamming people, and they got psychologists and therapists got issues in their own life that they can't even fix. But you go to these people and give them your money in hopes that they will heal you or somehow fix you. That is a scam and a hustle. Going to a therapist and a psychologist, those people have been hustling for years, just like pastors and preachers have been what? Hustling for years.
The reason that you can spend 16 years or even 60 years as a preacher is because there's no deliverable. You just deliver words and messages. I'll pray for you. In my case, if I say I'm going to teach you business, I have to deliver the guap, the moolah. If I say that I'm going to teach you something that has a deliverable, you can assess if I failed or if I succeeded in doing what I said I was going to do.
Your 9 to 5 is a hustle. The people you work for is pimping on you. They're not paying you the money that you're actually worth. That's a hustle. They're paying you pennies on the dollar while they get rich off of your labor. While they get rich off of your what? Intellectual property. Record labels who sign musicians, rappers, and R&B singers. That is a hustle. They don't pay these people for what they're worth. They take your talent and your intellectual property and get wealthy and give you pennies on the dollar. I don't care if you're working I don't care if you're working a 9 to 5. I don't care if you're signed to a record deal. They're paying you pennies on the dollar while they get filthy rich off of your talent and intellectual property. That's the unfortunate reality. So the job that you go to every day is what? A scam. The workers will never get rich, but the people at the top of the pyramid, the people at the top of that company, those are the people who get wealthy, not you as an entry-level worker. That could be, you can look at that and say that alone is a scam. Your religion, we could say that your religion is a scam. Or a hustle.
I haven't picked up a book that came from the Europeans in a European language. I've given you pure ism, and you can measure up my contribution in dollars. I've sent out over $600,000 to people just like you who are watching this right now. Most of you Black, many of you Latino. You can measure that up. So if I ever say I'm going to do something for you and it doesn't get delivered, you can say, okay, he didn't deliver, he failed. But if I'm a preacher,
Every content creator gets super chats, you idiot. You go out every day and you pay foreigners money for a service, you dummy. You spend your money with people who don't look like you every day, but you never say that they're hustling you or scamming you. Every content creator receives super chats and cash chats. What are you talking about, you dummy? You sound foolish. You're an idiot. Get lost. You can't name one content creator who don't receive super chats and cash apps. You can't name one business who don't take your money when they provide a service.
$600,000 to people just like you who are watching this right now. Most of you Black, many of you Latino. You can measure that up. So if I ever say I'm going to do something for you and it doesn't get delivered, you can say, okay, he didn't deliver, he failed. But if I'm a preacher, I can preach my whole life. And that's my point. Black people don't need preachers. We need leaders who actually deliver. And that is the line in the sand. No more of this Martin Luther King dreaming, no more of the preaching. I'll be happy to engage the conversation again on a pre-scheduled basis. I think maybe if we did like a minute 30, if we went back and forth with a minute 30 uninterrupted, what do you think?
Yeah, that sounds fair enough. I think at some point we do have to just talk to each other cleanly. But in some spaces, you need to be afforded a certain time uninterrupted as well as I. So we got to kind of find a way to work that out.
Right, that's what I'm saying. We have maybe a minute 30 for a floor and then a 30 seconds.
It's funny that Black people will say that we're hustling, but guess what? They spend their money with foreigners every day who provide them some type of service, and they have no problem spending their money with these foreigners that provide them a service. But they come over here to YouTube and act like we're not providing value to people's lives when we share this knowledge and information with them. But I guess it's a problem for YouTubers to receive super chats and cash apps. But when you spend your money with foreigners, whether you buy food, whether you spend your money or whatever you spend it on, they provide a service and you spend your money with no problem, and you never have anything to say about that. But you only got a problem when you see Black people who make money on social media. You're an idiot. You're an imbecile.
Second for a rebuttal.
Yeah, that could be fine.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fantastic. I appreciate you coming on. And I appreciate your tough skin. I wish you well in your next engagement.
Thank you. Hey, don't forget about what you said. You said you had something in the beginning of the year. I didn't forget about it.
Absolutely, I do.
All right, no sweat. All right, take care.
All right.
Hold on one second. I know this is popping up. See, Black people ain't got a problem spending money with foreigners. The only time they want to talk about money is when they spend money with Black people. And they want to say, they go spend their money with foreigners every day, and they never have a problem when those people say, hey man, I need you to pay me this and that. They don't complain about it. They spend their money and they go on about their business. That's exactly what they do. These are low IQ individuals. I understand it. Trust me, I get it. I get it. Black people go to Chinese restaurants, Mexican restaurants. They spend money with foreigners every day, and they never complain about the money that they spend. But they don't want content creators to get paid from what we do on social media. It's a problem when we get cash apps and super chats, but you spend your money with foreigners all day, every day, and you don't say a word about it. Get your dumb ass up out of here. You're an imbecile. You're an idiot. You're a fool. You're a buffoon. It's okay for foreigners to get paid, but a Black man can't get paid. Yeah.
Peace.
And guess what? I guarantee that you guys spend way more money with foreigners than you spend with me. Let me repeat. I guarantee you spend way more money with foreigners than you give me. But you got a problem with me. You got a problem with me making money, but you ain't got a problem spending money with foreigners every day, all day. Get lost.
Saints, we are back. We have a legend within the Hebrew. You must be a legend, because every time I debate anybody, they're like, yo, you need to go get Tazaryach. No, you ain't debate nobody. Go get Tazaryach. So I went and got y'all big homie. You heard me? I got y'all big homie in the building. We going in, man.
I was wondering what prompted it because I was okay because we been corresponding then when you hit me up. So shout out to my Israelite brothers, you know, that look at me now. How's everything, man? Happy when yeah, you know, anytime New York and like white people would come up, Michael Strahan, I say no.
I want to engage a conversation about, as I mentioned in the DM, what is the relevance to you that the Black peoples of America believe that they are the Hebrew Israelites, and how does that benefit them materially?
The most important part, I think, is what Black people, I think, suffer from is a moral compass that could actually benefit them, that can govern them. When I say benefit them, I'm not talking about what they have, just what they have access to, but what it restricts them from. So when it comes to the lost, so the first thing is identity. So when we identify as Israelites, that puts us in the Israelite world as far as, okay, if we're Israelites, what laws, what God do they have? What laws do they serve? What rules, what code of conduct? How do they conduct themselves? For us as Israelites, once we determine that, that gives us something to go with. Most Black people would say, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm an atheist, but that's extremely subjective because you can stop being a Christian at any point. Christianity is not an identity. Muslim is not an identity. Atheist, none of those are identities. So being an Israelite for us is about that's your identity more than anything else.
So he said being a Christian is not an identity. Being a Muslim is not an identity. But being a Hebrew Israelite is an identity. Let me know if you guys agree with that. So being a Hebrew Israelite is an identity. It is what you call an identity, but being a Christian or a Muslim, that's not an identity. Give me your thoughts on those. Give me your thoughts on that.
Once we determine that, that gives us something to go with. Most Black people would say, I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm an atheist, but that's extremely subjective because you can stop being a Christian at any point. Christianity is not an identity. Muslim is not an identity. Atheist, none of those are identities. So being an Israelite for us is about that's your identity more than anything else.
And I want to give the audience a heads up. I'll be cutting in at various points to speed up the conversation. We do have time constraints. So just a heads up to everyone that, I'll be chopping in periodically. So what is the relevance of saying that it's a religion that's guided by a book if you're suggesting that it's in your blood? If it's in your blood, then why do you even need the book? Shouldn't it just be written in your DNA?
Yeah, that sounds like the Matrix, man. We don't live in a Matrix where you just get zapped with information. If that was the case, we would have never lost our identity as being an Israelite. So like any culture, any nation that has a culture, Chinese people that have a culture, they have a written oral, they have an oral and written tradition of it. Every nation has an oral and written tradition. When we were brought over here as slaves, the oral lasted for some time. Like you can find, we have some people that their family line never forgot that they were Israelites. But then for the most part, that oral history was wiped away. They take away your ability to read or write. Now the written part is wiped away. And so it's not so much that you need it written down. Like even the Bible says the law will be written in our hearts. So I don't necessarily need the law I don't have to read it every day to follow it. But I had to get to that point. So that's the importance of understanding who you are, because Black people, for the most part in America, when it comes to their identity, they don't have none. They don't have no culture. So you have to read, just like anything, you have to learn. For the most part in America, when it comes to their identity, they don't have none. They don't have no culture. So you have.
So do you guys agree with that in America, you have no culture, you have no identity? Even though people latch on to everything that America do, America has some of the most influence all across the world. So do you agree with Captain when he says that Americans have no identity or no culture? Let me know if you agree with that. Shout out to Royalty for the Cash App. Shout out to Lions Dollars for blessing us with a Cash App as well. These are the regular people who support. Let's get some of you people who never support the show to pull up and support the show. Because Lions Dollars and Royalty, these are my regular contributors. Where's you people? You got a lot of people who watch in the clouds that get in the comments, but you never support the content. I've been paying attention to that. But Captain said that America has no culture, has no identity. Let me know if you agree with that.
Have to read, just like anything. You have to
Is that
learn.
true? You folks on the internet say the most ludicrous things. You said black people in America don't have any culture. Is that true?
Yeah, we have culture in the sense of when you start talking about black people with culture, you're gonna have to look at the roots of it all. So they're gonna talk about their music, which we have a musical culture. We have this culture. When Israelites are talking about culture, we talk about the God we serve, the laws we serve. The God that most black people serve is a false God or a fake one, like most people.
You actually went away from what I asked you. That's a red herring. So I asked you, I challenged your point about you said black people don't have culture. So
Right.
you're conceding, yes, black people do have culture. You were exaggerating.
No, I'm not. I'm
Okay,
saying,
so you're sticking with the idea that black people in America do not have culture.
no, I'm sticking with that because culture that black people have, music is, if you want to, okay, here's what, maybe this will help for those in your world understand. If you think music is a culture, by all means, black people have it. If you think the soul food that comes from surviving slavery and what we had to eat is a culture, then yes, we have it. For us, because our culture is our actual identity and that was taken away from us, that's why we say, so we could be talking past each other.
We're not talking past each other. If you're not a linguist or a cultural anthropologist, you don't get to redefine words in general and in particular those that relate to culture. So an attempt to suggest that black people in America don't have culture because they don't abide by your made up religion is fairly ludicrous and insulting, when in actual fact, the concept of culture has been defined.
I like how he broke that down. Listen, culture is music, food, a way of living, beliefs, the way that you do things, language, vernacular. All of that falls under what? Culture. Let's be real. Just because that doesn't align with your so-called religion doesn't take away from the fact that we have a unique culture as foundational Black Americans. I like how he broke that down.
We had to eat is a culture, then yes, we have it. For us, because our culture is our actual identity and that was taken away from us, that's why we say, so we could be talking past each other.
We're not talking past each other. If you're not a linguist or a cultural anthropologist, you don't get to redefine words in general and in particular those that relate to culture. So an attempt to suggest that black people in America don't have culture because they don't abide by your made up religion is fairly ludicrous and insulting, when in actual fact, the concept of culture has been defined quite clearly. It consists of some of the following things. This is not exhaustive: folkways, mores, religion, language, dialect, clothing, ways of being, food.
Music, food, dancing, slang, religion, the way of living, all of that is culture. So to say that foundational Black Americans have no culture is ludicrous. Shout out to Saint for breaking that down.
When in actual fact, the concept of culture has been defined quite clearly. It consists of some of the following things. This is not exhaustive: folkways, mores, religion, language, dialect, clothing, ways of being,
music,
food, holidays, and many other things. So you don't get to redefine it.
You don't get to redefine culture because it goes against your indoctrination. And what is your indoctrination? Your religion. Music, food, dance, the way of living, the way we dress, the way we talk, all of that is considered what? Culture. And who leads the culture in America? Foundational Black Americans, FBA. Our music put a major stamp on culture here in America. So to say that FBA has no culture is one of the most ridiculous things some of the most ridiculous things that I've ever heard. We don't have a culture, but yet the whole world mimics everything we do. Mimics our dance moves, mimics our music, mimic the way that we talk, the way that we dress. All of that is considered what? Culture.
Folkways, mores, religion, language, dialect, clothing, ways of being, food, holidays, and many other things. So you don't get to redefine it because it's out of line with the fake religion that you created.
What are the Black holidays?
Juneteenth is one of them.
I don't celebrate it, but
Juneteenth is an FBA holiday. Juneteenth is an FBA holiday. Martin Luther King. We celebrate Martin Luther King. That is an FBA holiday that represents our what? Our culture. Juneteenth represents what? Our culture and what we went through and what we stand for. All of that is considered culture. MLK Day, Juneteenth, and yes, Malcolm X should have a holiday, not just Martin Luther King. There should be a holiday for Malcolm X. There should be a holiday for the Black Panthers and everything that they contributed to our community and to our society. It is American culture. It is not just Black culture. When you think about everything that the Black Panthers did and accomplished, just to get destroyed by who? The federal government. The Black Panther Party represented what? Black culture.
Here's my point. With regards to, no, I don't celebrate it because I have a different culture. One second. No, don't interrupt. You don't get to redefine it because it's out of line with the fake religion that you created.
What are the Black holidays?
No, the white man didn't give us that because that's considered Black culture. MLK Day is Black culture. Juneteenth is Black culture. Malcolm X should have a holiday. That's Black culture. When you look at everything that the Black Panthers accomplished, there should be a celebration for that because that is also foundational Black American culture. The civil rights movement, what we did to elevate our people, that is culture. That's the reality of it. So when they say foundational Black Americans have no culture, that is ludicrous. That is some of the dumbest crap that I've ever heard. Only idiots fix their mouths to say that we have no culture as foundational Black Americans when the whole world studies and copies everything we do, from music to language, from the way that we dress, and a long list of other things. This is buffoonery, complete foolishness.
Kwanzaa, I don't celebrate it, but here's my point. With regards to, no, I don't celebrate it because I have a different culture. One second. No, don't interrupt. Don't interrupt, and don't fake laugh either. Don't fake laugh because I've seen it a million times, and don't interrupt. So here's my point. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. We already pointed out that culture had a definition before you and I started this conversation, so you don't get to create a new definition. Furthermore, I said it's a non-exhaustive list that consists of some of those things. And then you asked for an example. I gave you a very clear example. Furthermore, in my case, we practice Sasson culture. Culture is something that can be developed over time or it can be developed in a moment. For example, the fake religion that you follow, much of what it is was developed by your...
Saint keep telling them your fake religion. Now, I know a lot of Hebrew Israelites are going to get pissed off. They're going to be upset. But Saint said your fake religion. And he said that many times. He told Captain that you are celebrating what? A fake religion. I know the Hebrew Israelites are going to get pissed off about that. Who is this guy to tell us that our religion is fake? Well, he said it several times. And he gave you many examples of why he believes it's fake.
Find words.
Because culture that Black people have, music is, if you want to, okay, here's what, maybe this will help for those in your world understand. If you think music is a culture, by all means, Black people have it. If you think the soul food that comes from surviving slavery and what we had to eat is a culture, then yes, we have it. For us, because our culture is our actual identity and that was taken away from us, that's why we say, so we could be talking past each other. We're
not talking past each other. If you're not a linguist or a cultural anthropologist, you don't get to redefine words in general and in particular those that relate to culture. So an attempt to suggest that Black people in America don't have culture because they don't abide by your made-up religion is fairly ludicrous and insulting, when in actual fact, the concept of culture has been defined quite clearly. It consists of some of the following things. This is not exhaustive. Folkways, mores, religion, language, dialect, clothing, ways of being, food, holidays, and many other things. So you don't get to redefine it because it's out of line with the fake religion that you created.
What are the Black holidays?
Kwanzaa, I don't celebrate it, but here's my point. With regards to, no, I don't celebrate it because I have a different culture.
No, regardless if you agree with it or not, it's still culture. Juneteenth, Kwanzaa, MLK Day, all of that is still culture, regardless if you agree with it or not. By definition, it is culture. This ain't got nothing to do with your feelings. MLK Day represent what? FBA culture. Juneteenth represents what? FBA culture, the struggles and what we've gone through. They should have a holiday for Malcolm X. They should have a holiday for the Black Panthers, but they don't, because white people did everything in their power to suppress a lot of things that we've accomplished throughout history in this country. I'm giving you the irrefutable facts.
Don't interrupt, and don't fake laugh either. Don't fake laugh, because I've seen it a million times, and don't interrupt. So here's my point. Hold on one second. Hold on one second. We already pointed out that culture had a definition before you and I started this conversation, so you don't get to create a new definition. Furthermore, I said it's a non-exhaustive list that consists of some of those things. And then you asked for an example. I gave you a very clear example. Furthermore, in my case, we practice Sasson culture. Culture is something that can be developed over time, or it can be developed in a moment. For example, the fake religion that you follow, much of what it is was developed by Europeans meeting together and creating the religion. I yield the floor.
Thank you. I don't know if you muted me or not.
No, sir, I would never do that to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Nothing was given to Black people. You know how many Black people were unalived and thrown in prison fighting for civil rights? You know how many Black Panthers lost their lives to the penitentiary, or they were just lost their lives in battles and gun battles with local law enforcement? You know how many Black people died to get up out of slavery? So nothing was given to us. Everything was done through bloodshed and tears. Everything that we got as foundational Black Americans, we got it through blood, sweat, and tears. Nothing was given to us without bloodshed, without countless sacrifice. Get it right.
I did not mute you. If anyone in the chat was unable to hear the gentleman, please put a 2.
No, that's cool. Long as if you said you.
I believe Kwanzaa might be like, a Pan-African thing, right? So I don't think that Kwanzaa was an FBA grassroots movement. But I respect it, but I don't believe that Kwanzaa is an FBA grassroots movement. It's Black culture, but it's not foundational Black American culture. Now, Juneteenth is FBA culture 100%. The Black Panther parties and what they stood for and what they did, the contributions that they gave to the Black community, that was FBA culture 100%. MLK, FBA culture 100%. Malcolm X, FBA culture 100%. The music that we created in this country, because we all know that music is culture: jazz, rock and roll, funk, R&B, hip hop. All of that was created out of what? FBA culture.
You didn't do it. That's cool.
And creating the religion. I yield the floor.
Thank you. I don't know if you muted me or not.
No, sir, I would never do that to you.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I did not mute you. If anyone in the chat was unable to hear the gentleman, please put a 2.
No, that's cool. Long as if you said you didn't do it, that's cool. Yeah. By you reading your definition of culture, you prove we don't. That's why I asked you holidays. You said Kwanzaa. Most Black people celebrate Thanksgiving, 4th of July, Christmas, Valentine's Day, Memorial Day, Mother's Day.
Not Black people. Americans in general celebrate those days. Come on, Cap. Americans in general celebrate Thanksgiving, Christmas, the 4th of July, not just Black people. But we also have our own holidays that represent Black people, like MLK Day, Juneteenth. Like I said, Malcolm X should have been gave Malcolm X a day a long time ago. They should have already had a celebration for the Black Panthers, but why? They want to compare the Black Panthers to a white supremacist group like the KKK. Like I said before, and I say it again, Black Panthers ain't never went around lynching white people just because they're white. Black Panthers never unalived somebody because of the color of their skin. They never destroyed and burned down white communities because these people over here were white. But the Ku Klux Klan did all of the above. The Ku Klux Klan lynched people for being Black. They burned down communities and businesses because they wanted to stagnate the progress of foundational Black Americans in this country. So you cannot compare the Black Panthers to a racist white supremacist group as the KKK. The Black Panthers, the whole purpose of the Black Panthers was to protect the Black community from racism and police brutality. The Ku Klux Klan was created out of hatred for Black people. That is a hate group. The Black Panthers were never a hate group. The Black Panthers gave free lunch to kids, protected the community from police brutality, and what? They promoted unity. You cannot compare the Black Panther Party to a white supremacist group like the Ku Klux Klan.
Was they all European religions? The Israelites do not celebrate or consort
The
with.
Buffalo Soldiers should have it. I agree with that 100% because the Buffalo Soldiers played a major part in the North winning the war against the South, which gave us our freedom in this country. So the Buffalo Soldiers should be celebrated. The Black Panthers should be celebrated. There should be a holiday for it. These people are what? American heroes. So it's not just Black history. It is what? American history. Because these people fought for what? A righteous cause. The Ku Klux Klan and these white supremacist groups have never fought for a righteous cause. These are certified hate groups that hate people based on the color of their skin. And I can give you the irrefutable facts. I gave you what? The irrefutable facts to prove everything that I've said.
Anything European. So the fact that you say Kwanzaa makes you look foolish. It doesn't make me look foolish. That was a brother that started that.
No, impossible.
It definitely is possible because Kwanzaa was created by a brother in Chicago in the 70s. So then you're saying that Black people didn't have no culture of holidays until the 70s. Even Black History Month is
That's because white people did everything in their power to strip away our accomplishments. This is why they don't celebrate the Buffalo Soldiers. This is why they don't celebrate the Black Panthers. This is why they don't celebrate Malcolm X. But we should, because we understand the accomplishments. We understand the bloodshed and the countless sacrifices that the Black Panthers and the Buffalo Soldiers and many of our civil rights leaders, we understand the sacrifices that they made in order for us to make progress as a people, foundational Black Americans in this country.
Language at this point is very disingenuous.
Because Kwanzaa was created by a brother in Chicago in the 70s. So then you're saying that Black people didn't have no culture of holidays until the 70s. Even
Cap is not killing them. If you believe that Cap is killing the saint, then I get it. You're a Hebrew Israelite, and that ain't no this. I understand you, Square. You my boy, but Cap is not making good points. Cap tried to say that foundational Black Americans have no culture, and Saint gave him several examples of why we do have culture. So Captain Tazaryach is not killing anything. He looks pretty damn foolish. Captain Tazaryach claims to be a Hebrew, but he doesn't understand the Hebrew language. You can't fully submit to something if you don't understand the language. If your woman tells you today she don't understand what you're talking about, she don't understand what you stand for, it's impossible for her to submit to you because she don't even understand what you stand for. How can she commit if she can't? Listen, first you have to submit before you can fully commit to anything. And if you don't understand the language, if you don't understand basic communication in the language, then you cannot fully submit. You cannot fully submit to something if you don't understand the language of the things that you claim to follow. You cannot conform to being a Crip if you don't understand Crip literature, if you don't understand Crip language. You cannot fully submit or commit to being a Hebrew Israelite if you do not understand the language, the original language, not the interpretation of it, the original language. You cannot be a Christian if you don't understand the language. In order to submit, in order to commit, you must fully submit. And without understanding, that is impossible. If you don't understand the language, that makes it impossible to commit than to fully submit. You are not committed if you never submitted. And if you lack the understanding of the language, it is impossible to submit to something that you have little. It's impossible to submit to something if you don't have understanding for that language, if you don't have understanding for that doctrine. You need to understand the language, not somebody giving you the interpretation. It's very important that you understand the language of Christianity. It's very important that you understand the language of the Holy Quran. It's very important that you understand Hebrew if you're going to submit to this particular doctrine or religion.
History Month is
you're using language at this point is very disingenuous. So the fact of the matter is that culture does not hang on the singular point of having a holiday.
How can you receive something if you don't understand the language? If I'm telling you right now, you need to do something and you don't understand what I'm saying, how could you complete the task if you have no understanding for what I'm saying because you don't understand the language? You people don't operate from common sense. You don't understand the language, so it's impossible for you to submit to something if you don't understand what's being said. You're dependent on interpretation from a whole nother language instead of studying the language for the things that you claim to be a part of. If you're a Muslim, you need to understand the words of the Holy Quran. If you're a Christian, you need to understand all the words of Christianity. If you're a Hebrew Israelite, you need to understand the language of Hebrew. If you a Crip gang member, it's very important that you understand the literate. It's very important that you understand the literature of what Cripping is. If you're a gangster disciple, you cannot be a gangster disciple if you don't understand the literature. You know what happens when you claim to be a gangster disciple? Let's say you in prison and you claim to be a gangster disciple, and then gangster disciples walk up to you and ask you, what's the religion? What's the literature? And you don't understand the literature, they're going to beat you down and violate you for false flagging because you don't understand the literature of being a gangster disciple. The first thing they do, they're going to check you on your literature to see if you know it. And if you're claiming to be a gangster disciple and you don't understand the literature, they're going to violate you. They're going to violate you for not understanding the thing that you claim to be a part of. Real gangster disciples are going to look at you like a fake. They're going to look at you like a phony. They're going to look at you as a false flagger if you don't understand gangster disciple literature. So that goes for all religions. It's come on, man.
Holiday or not having a holiday.
Here's
Furthermore,
go now.
Go ahead.
Now you interrupted me now, though.
I already warned everyone.
You ain't got to take my word for it. What happens to a gangster disciple when he claims that he's a gangster disciple, and when he's confronted by gangster disciples, he don't understand the language of the literature? They're gonna violate him for what? For false flagging, because he don't understand the language of the literature.
That I would be cutting into the conversation at various points. So again, you're being dishonest there, but I will yield the floor to you.
I'm not being dishonest. I just like to have fun too. I'm good at this. That's why the Israelites said you ain't talk to Cap. So now when you look up concept of culture,
I'm the best at this. The only reason that they think that you're doing anything is because they're 2 standard deviations below the mean in IQ, which is typical of religious people.
The fact that you think Black people have a culture, then by the definition, shared beliefs, values, practices, material items define a group, learn through socialization, express symbols, language, norms, rituals. Now you show me where Black people collectively have those things that define a culture, and then I'll show you where the Israelites, which is not a made-up religion, is not even a religion.
We just defined what culture is, Cap. Now you're running in circles. Music is a part of culture. You know what I mean? Beliefs is a part of culture. The way you talk, the way you dress, all of that is a part of culture. You claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, but you don't even understand the language of Hebrew. You don't even understand the Hebrew language, but you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite. But you want to say that FBA don't have no culture when our music dominates American culture? The way that we talk, the way that we dress, the things that we stand for, the things that we celebrate. What do we celebrate? We celebrate Malcolm X. There should be a holiday for that. We celebrate MLK, even though we might not agree with everything that MLK has done, but we still celebrate him for the things that he's actually done for Black folks in this country. The Black Panthers should be celebrated. But you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, and you don't even understand the language. How could you fully submit to a culture when you don't even understand the language? How could you submit to a religion or culture if you don't understand the language? That makes no sense.
In a religion, anybody can be that religion. For Israelites, you have to be an Israelite to be an Israelite. So you can't call us a religion. So a white person can't be an Israelite, but a white person, African, Chinese, and Arab can all be Christian or Muslim or anything else. But you cannot be that. Why? Because our culture prohibits that. That's a different.
I get what he's saying, but you guys let Mexicans be Hebrews, and we all know you guys let Mexicans and Latinos be Hebrews. So if a white man can be a Hebrew, if an Asian can be a Hebrew, how could a Latino be a Hebrew? Because we all know that Latinos have anti-Blackness in their culture. Anti-Blackness runs deep in Latino culture. But you're telling me that a Latino can be a Hebrew, but a white man and an Asian can't? Study Latin American culture. Then you're going to see there's a lot of anti-Blackness that comes with that. So a Latino who comes from a culture that's full of anti-Blackness, he can be a Hebrew Israelite. Not a white man, not an Asian. But a Latino who practices anti-blackness in their culture, oh yeah, they can be a Hebrew Israelite. It's all gravy, baby.
Between us and whatever it is, have
Right.
those things that define the culture. And then I'll show you where the Israelites, which is not a made-up religion, it's not even a religion. In a religion, anybody can be that religion. For Israelites, you have to be an Israelite to be an Israelite. So you can't call us a religion. So a white person can be an Israelite, but a white person, African, Chinese, and Arab can all be Christian or Muslim or anything else. But you cannot be that.
It'd be one thing if they let Afro Latinos be Israelites. They let Latinos who are clearly not Afro Latinos become Israelites. And we all know the anti-blackness that comes from Latin American culture. So if they can be Israelites, then why is it a problem for a white man to be an Israelite when most of these Latinos that you see today have a majority of Spanish European blood in them? These are not Afro Latinos. These are Spaniard Latinos. And they could join the Israelite congregation. They could join the religion. So it makes no sense to allow a Latino with tons of European blood who grew up with a lot of anti-blackness in their culture. It's crazy that they could join the ranks of being a Hebrew Israelite. That's crazy to me. If you're going to keep the white man out, then you got to keep the Latino man out, just like everybody else.
Why? Because our culture prohibits that. That's the difference between us and whatever it is. You said you follow Sassy.
You're not speaking of a culture. One moment. You're confusing terms. The problem is that you're doing a very poor job with diction, and as a result, you're mixing in the concept of ethnicity.
If your point is saying we don't want the white man in our culture, why should Latinos join Hebrew Israelite ranks when they come from anti-blackness? Anti-blackness is big in their culture. And a lot of your Latinos some of them are majority European, which makes them a white man, which makes them a European, especially if you grow with European anti-black beliefs. Those people should not be Hebrew Israelites, just based on the culture they come from. If you come from a culture that promotes anti-blackness, then there's no way that you as a Latino should become a Hebrew Israelite when your culture in Latin America promotes anti-blackness. So it's crazy that those people could become Hebrew Israelites in the first place. That's crazy.
Culture and race. You're suggesting that race is a biological reality. You see, and another group,
if you're an Afro-Latino that subscribes to blackness, cool. That's a whole nother thing. But to allow white Latinos to become Hebrews is crazy.
You have to be an Israelite to be an Israelite. So you can't call us a religion. So a white person can be an Israelite, but a white person, African, Chinese, and Arab can all be Christian or Muslim or anything else. But you cannot be that. Why? Because our culture prohibits that. That's the difference between us and whatever it is. You said you follow Sassy.
You're not speaking of a culture. One moment. You're confusing terms. The problem is that you're doing a very poor job with diction, and as a result, you're mixing in the concept of ethnicity, culture, and race. You're suggesting that race is a biological reality. You see, and another group cannot take on a biological reality, but you're meshing that up with ethnicity and religion. That's the problem here. So you need to pull those things apart.
Listen, homie, a white Latino should not be a Hebrew Israelite. That don't make sense. You might as well let the white man become a Hebrew. If you're going to let a white Latino become a Hebrew, that doesn't make any sense. We all know how much, man, we read about the anti-blackness that comes from Latino culture. So if you're going to let a white Latino become a Hebrew, then why not just let the white man become one? I'm just saying. Come on, man. I'm just being. Oh man,
how messy what you're talking about is. Would you be so kind as to define the racial features that clarify who is a Hebrew? I'm gonna
You,
see if I can get a
you
pen
sound
too. I
more-
got a
you
pen
sound
here.
more- you don't even need a pen because you sound more European the more you talk. You see how you just said,
No, no, no. Don't run. Don't run. Don't run. I'm gonna get a pen. Don't run. Go
why
ahead.
say that? I said you don't need a pen. I said you
No, I'm
sound.
gonna take this and write this down. What are the racial features that define
Shout out to Afro Nat for the Cash App, and shout out to King Judah for the Cash App. That's all I'm saying, my brothers. I'm not here to disrespect nobody's religion. I'm just speaking on what makes sense and what doesn't make sense. Like if a white Latino can become a Hebrew Israelite, why not just let the white man become one? Because these white Latinos have the same belief system as the European white man. I promise you, just study the culture in Latin America and look at these white Latinos and look at all the anti-blackness they promote in that culture. That's all I'm saying.
the Hebrew Israelite?
Write this down. Marquette is extremely European and Eurocentric.
Don't run. Don't run. What are the features that define a Hebrew Israelite? You don't know who you are?
Why?
I thought you know who you are.
Why are you interrupting? Who's running from the question? I
Okay,
want you to
answer
write.
it. Answer it.
I just want you to write these things down.
Go ahead.
Marquette is Eurocentric in his thought process because according to the Bible, it does not say if you have a big nose, a big head, hair, that makes you an Israelite. It doesn't say that. In the Bible, it says if you are the seed of the Israelites, you're an Israelite. Only Eurocentric Europeans and those that follow him think that you're who you are by the size of your head, the size of your feet, your skin tone, your complexion. Those are all Eurocentric ideas. Those are not Israelite ideas. That's not. Can you show my? So I've answered your question. Now my
Okay.
counter.
No, you've not answered the question. So if you don't mind, I'd like to make sure that we can pin it down. No, one second. I'd like to make sure we can pin it down. So I asked you, because you've defined it as a racial group. So what I'm asking you is to define the things that are observable in that racial group, because you've stated that you are unlike other groups. So being that you're unlike other groups, tell me how I might recognize you. And I'll give you an example since you seem to be misunderstanding. If I were to say that someone is Samoan, I might be able to give you some metrics that define them as such. If I say that someone belongs to the Negroid, Caucasoid, Mongoloid category, I can give you some specifics. So I'm asking you, you're a Hebrew Israelite. What are the racial features of the Hebrew so that we can identify some similarities which constitute a group belonging? I'll yield the floor. I'm gonna write down what are the similarities that consist of your group.
My favorite phrases is listening is an art. You use the word race. I use more so the word ethnicity. So ethnically speaking, you are the seed of your father. So example, we would see the world would see Bob Marley as a black man. We would see Bob Marley as a white man because of who his father is. So now when we have talking points, when we have general talking points, what you're saying, we'll say, well, black people look like this generally. Black people have kinky hair generally. But Africans also have kinky hair, and we're not African either. So we don't go by Darwinism. We don't go by Eurocentric thoughts and ideologies and their beliefs. We go by the seed of your father. And so you identify Israelites by the laws they keep. You might see them with fringes. You might see women dressed a certain way. You might see the feast days we keep.
So now you're talking about behaviors. So you keep running. You'll define something, and then I'll assert that that's the wrong definition, and then you'll run on to something else.
So, for example, Marquette, is your father a son?
No, now, I want to get y'all thoughts on this. Now, we say you're the seed of your father, right? Now, when you say you're the seed of something, then you're gonna look like that person. Your genetic makeup, your physical appearance will reflect the person that you're the seed of. Right now, Bob Marley had a white daddy, but if you looked at Bob Marley, you couldn't tell he's white, because if you look at him, most of his his physical appearance he would have a black look or an Afrocentric look, as some people would like to say. So do we say that Bob Marley is a seed of his father, but he looks nothing like his father? None of his physical attributes shows any type of resemblance of a European? So do we say he's the seed of the father, but he looks nothing like a white man? None of his physical attributes represent a European? Or do we say, you listen, I've seen a woman and a man have a baby, and the child looks more like the mother than the father. So if a white man impregnates a black woman, right, but the child looks black, do we still say that the child is the seed of the father when the child looks nothing like the father? The child has mostly black features? Give me your thoughts in the comments. Because I've seen black men have babies with white women and the child looks more white than black. I'm just saying. And let me know if you follow me on that. I've seen black men have babies with white women, and even though the father is black, the child looks more white. The child has curly blonde hair and more European features, even though the father is black. Look at Bob Marley. His father is white. Even though Bob Marley's father is white, his physical features looks more Afrocentric, not European. Give me your thoughts on that.
What are the similarities that consist of your group?
My favorite phrases is listening is an art. You use the word race. I use more so the word ethnicity. So ethnically speaking, you are the seed of your father. So example, we would see the world would see Bob Marley as a black man. We would see Bob Marley as a white man because of who his father is. So now when we have talking points, when we have general talking points, what you're saying, we'll say, well, black people look like this generally. Black people have kinky hair generally. But Africans also have kinky hair, and we're not African either.
Well, we can't say that you're the seed of a white man if your physical appearance and your physical attributes are more Afrocentric. Because if you were truly the seed of a white man, you would look like a white man. I mean, this is just my beliefs. You guys can come with that biblical stuff and what was said from centuries. I'm using my common sense. You can say that this child is the seed of the white man, but this child has no European features whatsoever. So how could you be the seed of the white man if you don't have European features? You got kinky hair, thick lips, and a wide nose, and melanated skin. So how could you be the seed of the white man when you have no European features, even though the daddy is black? I don't know. Give me all feedback in the comments. If you're the seed of something, then you should look like that person. You should look like, if your daddy is European and we're going to say you're the seed of the European, well, if you don't have European features, then how could we say that you're exactly what your father is when you look nothing like your father? I've seen black men have babies with white women and the child comes out looking more European. Maybe the white woman genes were stronger. In Bob Marley's case, maybe his mother genes were stronger.
So we don't go by Darwinism. We don't go by Eurocentric thoughts and ideologies and their beliefs. We go by the seed of your father. And so you identify Israelites by the laws they keep. You might see them with fringes. You might see women dressed a certain way. You might see the feast days we keep.
So now you're talking about behaviors. So you keep running, you'll define something and then I'll assert that that's the wrong definition, and then you'll run on to something else.
So for example, Marquette.
Exactly. How could you be the seed of a European when you have no European features? Most of your features are Afrocentric. So that means that Bob Marley's mother, her genes were stronger. In Bob Marley's situation, his daddy was black and his mother was black Jamaican. Bob Marley's mother genes was stronger, which is why his features are what? Afrocentric and not European.
Father.
No, we don't have to run to that. What are the racial features of the Hebrew Israelites so that I can write it down?
Can't read where that's an identifier for Israelites in the Bible. So we don't go by racial features. That's why I use Bob Marley as an example. Bob Marley has a black mother.
I want to make sure real quick. I just want to make sure we're understanding. So you're saying you do not go by racial features, which is to say biological markers. Is that correct?
No, you're saying biological.
No,
markers.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you.
I'm going to explain. What I'm saying by racial features, when people see Bob Marley, they call him black. Whenever we say Bob Marley is a white man, they say you're full of crap. Because when I look at Bob Marley, what does he have? Black features or black skin tone. But
I heard that the first time. You don't have to repeat it. I'm asking you, what are the racial features of the Hebrew Israelites? If you're saying there are none, just say that and I'll write it down. But it seems as though you're tap dancing. Are there racial features or are there no racial features of the Hebrew Israelites? And when we say race, we're talking about that which is biological. I yield the floor. Which is it?
Before I answer again, can you
Just
give
answer. You don't have to preface it.
No, I do want to preface it. When you say racial features, can you tell me what you're saying the racial features
Don't
are?
answer a question with a question.
Make sure that you guys get those likes up. Get those likes up for your boy. We need at least 300 to 400 people who bless that like button. Get them up, give it to me. I'm talking about the rings and the jewelry. Bob Marley's mother, her genes were stronger than his white father. Bob Marley looks more Afrocentric, which means his mother genes were more dominant than his father's genes. Drake had a baby with a white woman. That child has blonde hair and pale skin. The mother's genes were actually stronger. Drake has dark hair and like a beige skin tone. That child is pale skin with blonde curly hair. So that means that the mother's genes was stronger. In Bob Marley's case, his mother was black, his daddy was white, but his mother had stronger genes because Bob Marley has an Afrocentric look. Afrocentric look, he don't look European at all, which means his mother's genes were stronger.
I heard that the first time. You don't have to repeat it. I'm asking you, what are the racial features of the Hebrew Israelites? If you're saying there are none, just say that and I'll write it down. But it seems as though you're tap dancing. Are there racial features or are there no racial features of the Hebrew Israelites? And when we say race, we're talking about that which is biological. I yield the floor. Which is it?
Before I answer again,
just answer. You don't have to preface it.
No, I do want to preface it. When you say racial features, can you tell me what you're saying the racial features
Don't
are?
answer a question with a question. The problem is that you are in a lack of knowledge, and now having been exposed, you're now questioning me. You see, instead of saying, I don't know, it's okay to say, I don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. I asked you what you are, what your group is, and you don't know. Just say you don't know.
So here's why I answer the way I answer.
No, you didn't answer. You asked a question. You didn't answer. You asked a question. That makes it a response, not an answer. Again, I'm a master of language. So please be accurate.
Though, because I asked you a question the third time, you didn't understand the answer. So I have to dumb it down for you. That's the difference.
What are the chances that you have to dumb something down? Now, what are the racial features of the Hebrew Israelites? It's fundamental.
There is no set racial features for Israelites. There is no identifier where if they got this nose, they're an Israelite. They got this complexion, they're an Israelite. If they got this color eyes, they're an Israelite. That's Eurocentric teaching that you're doing.
How's that Eurocentric? How's that Eurocentric?
Feminists would say if their brain is this size, they're like this.
Wait, how's that Eurocentric?
Okay, tell me the black people that came up with this concept.
Stop asking me questions. I'm asking you, how is that Eurocentric?
Don't do that. That's what a debate is. A debate is
yes, but it's your term, so you have to define your term. It's not my term, your term. So I'm asking you, how is it Eurocentric?
Because the concept of identifying people by race.
We've been watching. Get those likes up to 300. Make sure that you guys get those likes up to 300. How are you going to call something Afrocentric when you're speaking in a excuse me? How are you going to call something Eurocentric when you're speaking in a Eurocentric language? Your interpretation of what Hebrew is comes from a European language because you don't understand the language of you don't understand Hebrew. You don't understand the language. So it makes no sense for him to talk about something as Eurocentric when your understanding of a Hebrew Israelite comes from a Eurocentric language, which is English. Makes no sense. Your understanding of what a Hebrew Israelite comes from what? A Eurocentric language, which is a European language that happens to be English. So you cannot talk about something as Eurocentric when your understanding from your own religion comes from a Eurocentric translation, which is the English language. You don't understand the Hebrew language yourself. You want to talk about being Eurocentric? That's crazy.
Racial markers was started by Europeans. So
your understanding of what Hebrew is comes from a Eurocentric English language. If you're going to claim to be a Hebrew, you should understand the language of Hebrew. You're depending on a Eurocentric language, which is English, to have a better understanding of what they're saying in Hebrew. If you're going to claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, it makes more sense for you to study the language so that you can have a full understanding of the Hebrew language. That's all I'm saying. The way you communicate, your understanding from your own religion comes from a Eurocentric English language.
Honor is to show me the black people that created this. If you look this way, it's because you come from this, or because
if you say you're a Hebrew, but you don't understand the Hebrew language, I have a problem with that. I got a problem with that. That's all I'm saying. If you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, you should understand the language. You shouldn't depend on a Eurocentric English language to understand what a Hebrew is. Because at that point, you're depending on English translation, which is a European language, which makes you Eurocentric if we're using logic.
you come from that. That's my counter question. Go ahead.
You have a counter question to me asking you to define a term that you use.
Don't be confused. I answered the question. Now answer
Do you
my
understand
question.
my point? You have a counter question to you defining a term that you
We
use.
understand it was beaten out of black people during slavery, but if you claim to be a Hebrew nowadays, you should have a full understanding of the language if you're going to claim to be what? A Hebrew Israelite. That's all I'm saying.
Used.
But why you can't answer? You're the one running
No,
now.
I'm pointing out to you what you're doing. It's ludicrous. You used a term, and then I said define it, and now you're giving a counter question. Defining a term is not an argument. That's number one. Defining a term is not an argument. It's just making sure that we're sharing a lexicon to have the conversation. That's number one. Now, number two, let me explain something. Number two, there's certain things that you cannot say that the Europeans discovered it, or the Europeans created it, or the Arabs created it. No, there's some things that are immutable truths. So for example, if you were to look at the Fulani versus say the Zulu or the Xhosa, you can see racial differences, even if you look at the Bushmen. And these are subcategories of race, meaning that they have common features. Don't interrupt now. You asked me a question. Don't interrupt now.
You're not
You don't have to interrupt. You asked me a question. So the point I'm making is that that's not a Eurocentric view. That's an obvious biological reality, that there are different features based on peoples originating in different lands. So it's actually quite ludicrous to claim it's Eurocentric. Now, here's the even funnier thing for someone like you. You would claim that it's Eurocentric, but everything based on your religion, which is a fake false religion, as all the other ones are as well, all of that comes from Europe.
He said you got a fake false religion. Your understanding of your religion comes from a Eurocentric language, a European language, which is English. So you have no room to call anybody Eurocentric when your understanding of your own religion comes from a European Eurocentric language, which is English. That makes no sense. So Cap, you don't have no room to say that somebody is Eurocentric when your understanding of your own religion comes from a Eurocentric European language, which is English, buddy. If you're going to claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, the least you could do is study Hebrew to understand the language. Stop depending on English interpretation.
Features based on peoples originating in different lands. So it's actually quite ludicrous to claim it's Eurocentric. Now, here's the even funnier.
You don't
have to interrupt. You asked me a question. So the point I'm making is that that's not a Eurocentric view. That's an obvious biological reality, that there are different features based on peoples originating in different lands. So it's actually quite ludicrous to claim it's Eurocentric. Now, here's the even funnier thing for someone like you. You would claim that it's Eurocentric, but everything based on your religion, which is a fake false religion, as all the other ones are as well, all of that comes from Europe. In fact, the language that you read it in is a European language.
Is that a question?
So everything that you're going to share is fundamentally Eurocentric. So I find it ironic that you're challenging me with the very thing that you're victim of.
No, I'm not. Because
yeah, you used the King James.
You did. You said that he was Eurocentric, but you're challenging him on things that, and all of your beliefs and understanding comes from a Eurocentric European language. You don't even understand the language of Hebrew. So you have no room to call somebody Eurocentric when your understanding from your own religion comes from a Eurocentric European language. You have no room to talk like that, Captain. You don't even understand your language you don't even understand your religion from the language of Hebrew. Your understanding of what a Hebrew Israelite comes from a Eurocentric European language, which is English. So for you to call somebody Eurocentric is foolish.
James Version Bible. King James was a European king.
King James
You read
was
the
not.
book in English, which is a European language.
King James
So
was a white man. Though. King James was not a white.
I said King James was a European king,
but he was not a white man. He was a man.
I did not say that. Stay focused. I said King James was a European king. Is that correct or incorrect?
He also was a Jacobite. His throne was built.
Now here's another piece.
Now I want to get this out.
You can't call somebody Eurocentric when your understanding of your own religion comes from a Eurocentric European language. Your understanding of Hebrew don't come from you understanding the language of Hebrew. It don't. It comes from the understanding of the English language. That's where your translation comes from. So by definition, you're Eurocentric. All of your beliefs comes from a Eurocentric language. You don't understand Hebrew in totality. You might understand a word here and a word there, but you don't understand the Hebrew language in totality. You don't. Which by definition makes you Eurocentric as well. Cap is not killing them. Cap is not it. I got to be real with you, man. Cap ain't killing nothing. Cap is calling somebody Eurocentric while his whole understanding of what a Hebrew is comes from a Eurocentric European language. If you're going to claim to be an Israelite, the least you could do is understand the Hebrew language. Your understanding of what a Hebrew is comes from a European language, which is English. This is crazy. The fact that we're even having this conversation is insanity. It is crazy. Lord Jesus, what are we doing here? Shout out to Afro Nat for the Cash App, man. I appreciate you, Afro Nat, for blessing us with a Cash App. I mean, I'm just saying. Hit the like button. It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing.
Then I'm going to ask the question. No matter what Jesus...
Hold on, man. Anyway, man, make sure that you guys bless the like button because we got a lot of people watching, but they ain't blessing that like button. Hit the like button. Support the show for show. You already know. King Supreme delivering the what? The straight-laced game. Giving you the irrefutable facts. Now let's dive into this right here. I think I got some more content right here. Check it out. Excuse me 1 second. I made a mistake. I'm finna upload the video where Captain Tazaryach, they had this conversation. Let's go. Make sure that you hit the like button. Get us past 300 likes, man. We need to get past 300 likes, and we're going to let it do what it do.
Offenders in our local churches who pay their tithes faithfully and our layman ministers. So I have
It comes and he sincerely wants to repent. Anybody can repent from whatever thing that they committed. But when it comes to that type of individual, good dialogue. I think these opening introductions, I guess I'll just take my time to say that the event that you said that you wanted us to be a part of, you can just hit me up. I'm Tazaryach everywhere. I'll go to your channel, see if there's a way to connect with you. And maybe we can have a longer dialogue in the future. You let me know. I think it could be beneficial for both parties. Peace to your chat, and I say shalom.
I appreciate you. Also, are you on IG?
Yeah, yep. Same name, Tazaryach on IG. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot you a message. We'll have to organize something. Talk to you
Okay.
soon. I
All right.
appreciate you.
Perfect.
Peace to the
I know.
saints.
Shout out to Ambitions of a Rider for blessing the super chat. I appreciate you, baby. You know, I appreciate you, baby. You've been showing a lot of love to the show. You already know.
Sweat, please.
Truth may lead. That's it.
Tazaryach.
Tazaryach. So, hey, so
I feel like a white man right now when they play or
right.
we need to let that be known who we're talking about. So
multiple. We can see is in Ezekiel, I think the 25th chapter, the Lord took away the beauty of his eye, which was his one wife, because that was more important to him. So we don't incur a man can have more than one wife, but we don't say, hey, you got to get 3, you got to get 5. We don't say you got to get any. We more so like we actually have a rule in our school, like when a brother or sister comes into our school, they're off limits from each other for at least 6 months because they got to shed themselves to the world. Because I don't think I got to tell you, you seem intelligent enough. We don't know how to have real relationships the way the Bible meant for it. So as they come into the school after 6 months, then they get permission, and then you have a year-long courtship that you have before you could actually consummate and be married. And that's just with one. So you can have more than one, but we don't tell you you have to have a certain amount.
Okay. Is there an upper limit? Like, is it like,
Yeah,
bro,
I
like you
don't.
can't
I
have more
mean,
than
I
you
mean,
can't
come
have more
on,
than
man. You
12?
get, yeah, yeah. I don't know nobody with that many, but I
Okay.
was gonna go lower. Like if you start getting into the 6s or 7s or
Okay.
5s and stuff
You
like that, it's
wilding.
like well, because how long you gonna stretch yourself?
Okay. Fair
Because
enough.
you got to, you got to teach, you got to do things. There's a lot of responsibility that comes with it.
Okay. Yeah, I asked you some of those questions because I'm always interested at where we diverge and then also where we unify at. I can definitely tell by your conduct and disposition. There's probably a lot of places where we can come together. I've seen your organization here and there online. I don't think I've seen them in person, but I've certainly seen them online. The drinking thing, I'm staunchly against. I couldn't be any more against it. But I think we probably align on a lot of other things. And I appreciate the hierarchy and organization that you speak to, because that is absolutely necessary. You mentioned people shedding the world and learning how to properly engage male to female. This is something that we're going to be educating on in the center that we're building, because male-female relations have totally broken down throughout the world.
Yes.
So I have a lot of respect for that. And the concept of, as you put it, shedding the world, which will allow you to get closer to God and goodness.
Right.
I think that's very important. So we agree there. The piece you mentioned earlier, one of the arguments, I can't say I really find it to be terribly reliable. You said that the blacks have been Muslims, they've been Christians, they've been this and that, and they're searching for identity. Well, I think all people.
No, I disagree with that inside the square, King Judah, because Tommy Sotomayor wanted to form an alliance with white supremacists. I've seen Saint in the Center verbally destroy white supremacists in their beliefs and talking points. I've never seen Tommy Sotomayor defeat a white supremacist based on their beliefs and talking points. He's never did that. I've seen several videos where Saint has obliterated and destroyed white supremacists based on their phony belief system. Tommy Sotomayor has never done that. Matter of fact, Tommy Sotomayor tried to form an alliance with white supremacists and got mad when they clowned him and disrespected him.
People's have, went on to various religions. So the question is, why for the blacks in particular, would they come to the Hebrew identity? Because all peoples of the earth have sought religion.
Well, I think it's slightly different for Black people in this regard, because Black people, when we were brought over here in slavery, our identity was taken away from us. So we don't have a culture to fall back on. Like if an Irish person decided to be Muslim, they still know they're Irish. If an Italian decides to be atheist, they still know they're atheist. Um, But for Black people, the reason why they get into the religion is because that's the closest they can get to the Most High. And then they develop an identity from there. If you ask 10 Black people who they are, you're going to get 10 different answers. So we're the anomaly when it comes to that. So it's not, you're right when you say people can follow different religions. You got Hinduism out there. You got a bunch of different, if you get into African culture, they got a bunch of different beliefs. but black people are searching for their identity.
It's not about saint, right? It's about who's right or wrong. No, we can't say that the man is not intelligent. When you look at all the man's accomplishments, you have to be intelligent to accomplish the things that the man has accomplished. So we cannot take that away from saint. Now, that doesn't mean that, everything that he says is right, but I got to call a spade a spade. Captain Tazaryach has lost this discussion. He's lost this particular debate. Now, he might say, oh, it wasn't a debate. Listen, when you're sharing knowledge and information, we're going to deal with the things that make sense, and we're going to throw out the things that doesn't make sense. Captain Tazaryach said that Saint is Eurocentric, but then Saint will say, well, your interpretation of what a Hebrew is comes from a Eurocentric English language. How dare you call somebody Eurocentric? You claim to be a Hebrew and don't even understand the language.
Because their identity was taken from them. So that's the difference, I would say, would be between a black person and like a Chinese person, for example.
Smart people lie all the time. I agree with that. Smart people lie and they manipulate people all the time. So just because you're smart and intelligent doesn't mean that you have great intentions or good intentions. And that's not to say that saint and the sinner's intentions are bad. I'm just speaking in general. The devil is smart. The devil is articulate. The devil is intelligent. But the devil manipulates people for his own agenda. So he uses his intelligence for manipulation. The devil uses his intelligence for manipulation, not because he has a righteous cause. So just because somebody is smart or intelligent doesn't mean that they have good intentions. Some people use their education for manipulation. Some people use their education for deception. Some people use their education to deceive people, to mislead people. So you got to know what you're dealing with. Everybody doesn't use their intelligence for a righteous cause. Some people use it for devilish deeds. Some people use it for great things. It just depends on the individual. You can weaponize your intelligence for righteousness, or you can use your intelligence for devilish deeds, manipulation and deception.
What would you say if you had to pick one thing, like the top priority of ISUPK right now? What would you say that is?
Brotherhood would be the top priority, is because brotherhood, like, is exemplified what Christ said. Christ said,
Right. Intelligence does not equate to good character. Like I said, you can use your intelligence for a righteous cause, or you can use your intelligence for manipulation and deception. It just depends on the individual. What are you using your intelligence for? Now, that's the real question. Intelligence doesn't mean that you have good character. The devil was very intelligent, but at the same time, the devil uses his knowledge and intelligence to manipulate people, to deceive people. That is what Satan, Lucifer, uses his intelligence for. A righteous man uses his intelligence for a righteous cause. So just because somebody's articulate and intelligent doesn't mean that they're using it for a righteous cause. Look at what the devil uses his intelligence and knowledge for. That's a prime example.
to love the Lord with all thy might, soul, and strength, love thy brother as thyself. On these two hang all the law. So if you look at, they got a term called YNs. They got,
Listen, the devil knows all the scriptures in the Bible because the devil was once a disciple of God. So the devil was very intelligent, but he uses his knowledge and intelligence for wickedness. The devil uses his knowledge and intelligence for wickedness, manipulation and deception. That's what the devil uses his knowledge and intelligence for.
right? I actually hate the term, but because I think
Right.
it's a term that makes it worse than the N word.
If you think Cap destroyed somebody, then you're just crazy. Cap claims to be a Hebrew and doesn't even understand the language, and he got the nerve to call somebody Eurocentric when his understanding of Cap's understanding of his religion comes from a European language. He claimed to be a Hebrew but don't understand the language of Hebrew. And you got the nerve to say that he destroyed somebody? That's crazy. You're claiming a religion and you don't even understand the language, but you want to call somebody Eurocentric. And when your understanding of your own religion comes from a European, Eurocentric language, which is English. Cap, listen, homie, Cap didn't destroy nobody at all. If you claim to be a Hebrew, listen, it's very important that you understand the language of Hebrew if you're going to claim to be a Hebrew Israelite. If you got to use a white man's language to understand what Hebrew means, then you're lost in the sauce. You're lost in the sauce because you're depending on interpretation from an English Eurocentric. You're depending on interpretation from a Eurocentric English language to gain a better understanding of your religion, which is Hebrew. That's crazy. You shouldn't have to depend on a European language to understand your religion. You shouldn't have to depend on a European language to understand your religion, especially if you claim to be a Hebrew. That's all I'm saying. And I don't say that to be disrespectful. I'm saying it because it's true and it makes sense.
So they already call this the N word. Now they got YNs, and then YNs believe I'm a YN, so I got to act even worse.
Yeah, act up. Yep.
Right. So what we try to do is bring about a brother.
Okay, if the Hebrew language was stolen from you, it's your job to gain a better understanding of what it means. If you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, it makes sense for you to understand the language. That's all I'm saying. I don't say that. I don't mean no disrespect when I say that. If you claim to be a Hebrew Israelite, you need to understand the language. You shouldn't have to depend on interpretation from a European language to understand your religion.
Like even like when we go out, I remember, I'll give an example real quick. I'll be brief. I was like maybe 15 of us, and we dressed with like our garments on, so we got like our fringes, and most people think we're a biker gang. And so when we go like to like yeah, that's what we get. They were like, crazy. Are you in a biker gang or something like that? And so I remember we was at this hotel.
Right, because some words don't translate well. Some words from English don't translate well to Hebrew. So if you're going to claim to be a Hebrew, it's very important that you understand that language, especially if you claim to be a part of that religion. I'm just speaking on what makes sense, and I'm calling out what doesn't make sense. That's all I'm doing. I'm not disrespecting nobody's religion. We're dealing with facts, common sense, and logic here. That's all I'm doing.
Like the people that's surrounding us, when we would see them, we was like, how you doing? Good day. We would speak to them in such kindness, and then in that kindness, it would provoke them to say, well, who are you? Because in most instances, if you see a bunch of black men, you don't get that thought process that they would actually be kind to you. So we believe that brotherhood would actually fix our people, would change our condition. Christ said, greater love than a man lay his life down. So that would be the one thing that I would say ISUBK is. And the brotherhood, it consists of sisterhood too. I don't want my sisters to think we don't care about them, but it's both of those working in conjunction together.
And are you all Jews or Hebrews? Is this the same thing? Is it different?
So Hebrew is more so the language you speak. Judah would be the tribe. So from my position, we teach that the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the 12 tribes of Israel. So a Latino wouldn't be a Judite or wouldn't be a Jew per se. Let's say if that is a Puerto Rican, we would say that they're from a different tribe, which would be Ephraim. So Jew might be a collective term, but if you talk about specifically, Blacks would be Judah, West Indians would be Benjamin, and stuff like that. So that's kind of how we break it down.
Understood. And my understanding of most folks who would reference such a thing, whether they're saying that they're Israelites, Hebrews, or Jews, that these are usually folks.
The Bible was easily translated to English. Well, let me tell you like this. People misconstrue things that happened 2 weeks ago. So what makes you think they're not going to misconstrue things that happened thousands of years ago? All of us on this panel, we were living a month ago. And if you take something that happened a month ago and you take people who were actually there, you ask 20 people what happened, you're going to get different versions of that story. So if people create different versions of the story about something that happened a month ago, imagine how many different stories you're going to get about something that happened thousands of years ago. Make it make sense.
Folks that are focused on the Torah and or the Old Testament.
To not, right.
Right. With no no New Testament. Jesus is
Right.
not a thing, but I do believe I heard you referencing Jesus.
Yeah. So we believe Genesis to
And you
Revelation.
guys know I'm telling the truth. Everybody in this comment section was alive 1 month ago. If you take a situation that happened a month ago and you ask 20 people what happened, you're going to get different versions of the story. And we're talking about people who was actually there. So if you're talking about something that happened thousands of years ago and none of us was there, imagine how that story was manipulated after time passed on, especially when you're talking about something that took place 1,000 years. Imagine how that story has been manipulated over 1,000 years, when people will manipulate stories about something that happened a month ago and all of us was living a month ago. But people, you ask 20 people what happened about something that took place a month ago, you're going to get different versions of the story. So what makes you think you're not going to get different versions of a story about something that took place 1,000 years ago and none of us was living? None of us. So we're depending on what people are telling us, because none of us was there. Our parents wasn't there. Our grandparents wasn't there. So if people manipulate stories about something that happened a month ago, imagine how much they'll manipulate a story about something that took place over 1,000 years ago. That's all I'm saying.
Like Christ was a Jew. That's what tripped me out about people that reject the New Testament. When Christ is a Jew, it's almost like they act like the history of Israel stops at Malachi. Like there ain't nothing else after Malachi. So we believe in the whole book from Genesis to Revelations.
You can't say that the message stands firmly when we all know that people manipulate words, people manipulate books, people manipulate words in religion. We know this. Why do you think there's a such thing as fake news? People report on things that happened a month ago and it's fake news. So what makes you think people didn't manipulate these Bibles and religions and they've been around for thousands of years? You're crazy if you think that nobody has manipulated these things for their own benefit, to promote or push their own agenda. People manipulate stories. People manipulate stories that happened a month ago. What makes you think they're not going to manipulate things that happened thousands of years ago and none of us was living and none of us was there? Nobody on planet Earth that's living today was there. So if you manipulate something that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, what makes you think they're not going to manipulate something that happened 1,000 years ago? That's only common sense. I'm not telling you to not believe in your religion. What I'm saying is a lot of these books have been manipulated. People have rewrote history for their own benefit to push and promote their own agenda. People in the Middle East are some of the biggest liars, bro. The Arabs had many slaves. The Arabs enslaved black people. So if they enslave black people, why would they be honest about history in totality? They're not going to be honest about the history in totality. They have their own agenda. People in the Middle East are some of the biggest liars come from the Middle East. The Arabs have enslaved black people. They're known for slavery. You got people right now in Egypt who come from the Middle East that try to make, you got people in Africa right now, the fake Egyptians. You got people in Egypt right now. They're not the real Egyptians. They're the fake Egyptians, but they lied about history. Why do you think when you see movies about why do you think when you see movies about Egypt, you see a lot of white people being represented in these Egyptian movies? When we all know the original people of Egypt were not, we all know the people of Egypt, the original people of Egypt are not pale-skinned people. But they promote this propaganda in movies. When you look at the majority of these Egyptian movies, it's full of white people. That's manipulation and deception. 100%. Some of the biggest liars on planet Earth come from the Middle East. Some of the biggest liars on planet Earth come from Europe.
You all consider yourselves Christians?
No, we wouldn't consider ourselves Christians because Christian is not Christian. You know what's crazy is being called a Christian in the New Testament is like being called an N-word or a BHI today. It wasn't a term of endearment. It was like, oh, that's them Christians over there. That's them N-words over there. That's how it was. That's why Peter would say, I think in First Peter could be 2:11 if I got the right verse. If you suffer as a Christian, because following after Christ, like nowadays, when you say,
Right. They use the Bible to enslave black people, to manipulate us, to make it seem like slavery was okay, and God gave the okay for it. That is how the white man manipulated the Bible to push their own agenda, which condoned slavery, which condoned the subjugation and incarceration of black people. They used the Bible to promote that. That's what the Europeans did. Yo, yo, yo.
I believe in Jesus is like it's cool, but back then, believing in Christ, you could die. You know, you could be unalived if you said you rode with Christ. So that's the term Christian is from that concept. It's not something where, because I don't think Christians obey God at all. That's just my position. So that's why I would never call myself a Christian.
Okay, fair enough. All right, well, I'll give you a 20 seconds to close it out if you got anything else you want to share with the people.
Oh no, listen, I thought it was a good dialogue. I think these opening introductions.
Some of these things are common sense. If you're depending on books that's been manipulated by man, then you're going to be lost in the sauce, because they're not going to give you the real history. They're going to give you their story, which is a distorted version of what real history actually is. A lot of these books have been manipulated, and I think we know why.
I guess I'll just take my time to say that the event that you said that you wanted us to be a part of, you can just hit me up.
The white man used the Bible because he manipulated the Bible, and he used a lot of that stuff in the Bible to justify the enslavement of black people. The white man, the European, used the Bible to justify the enslavement of black people, because why? The white man manipulated the Bible and told his own version of the book instead of being honest about the true history of it. So he manipulated the Bible. He manipulated Christianity to justify the enslavement of blacks in this country. The white man weaponized the Bible to justify his actions towards blacks in this country. I'm giving you the historical facts, the irrefutable facts.
Tazaryach everywhere.
Okay.
I'll go to your channel, see if there's a way to connect with you. And maybe we can have a longer dialogue in the future. You let me know. I think it could be beneficial for both parties. Peace to your chat, and I say shalom.
I appreciate you. Also, are you on IG?
Yeah, yep. Same name,
Okay.
Tazaryach on IG. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna shoot you a message. We'll have to organize something. Talk to you soon. I appreciate you. Peace of the saints.
No sweat. Please.
Truth may lead. That's it.
Tazaryach.
Tazaryach.
Of course, school has manipulated education, which is why it's indoctrination, and a lot of it is not even true education. A lot of stuff you learn in college is indoctrination. It's not education. Now, of course, you can use some of that stuff to benefit you in your personal life or career, yes, but a lot of that stuff that we learn in school is indoctrination. It is not real education. 100%. Check game, man. I'm gonna do a part 2 to this because we're approaching the 3-hour mark, and I got some things to do. So I'm gonna do a part 2 to this where we're gonna do a panel show. We're gonna do a panel show, but I need people to compose themselves. You come up cursing, using foul language, I'm gonna just boot you. Part 2 will be a panel show. I'm gonna bring people up to speak and let me know what you think. You can speak on things from your perspective, speak on things from your religion, or whatever you want to do. Just keep the language clean and respectful, and you'll be welcome to hit the link to join the panel. Hey, homies. Peace, love, and blessings. Giving you gain to keep you from stressing. It's King Supreme. Make sure that you like the stream. Hey, man, we cooking this game up in a major way, Jack, and that is realer than rap. I'm out.